What's up world? It's Willy What If here. Another day, another video. This is part 4 of What If Deku and friends were isekai'd into the world of Konosuba, with maybe a few more worlds mixed in to spice things up. Leave a like if you want more. Now let's begin. Nervously, Izuku patted his horse. Easy there, boy. It's alright. And quat. The horse snorted, shaking its head and shying slightly at the smell that was borne on the wind. Izuku wrinkled his nose himself. The stench on the wind was unnatural, like that of an open tomb. The army that was coming towards them was barely worthy of the name. It was more a collection of monstrous insects and undead abominations that blighted and poisoned the land as they moved as a skittering tide of flesh. Izuku could see massive dung beetles over 2 stories tall, striding forward on dark carapace legs and leaving trails of decay, while overhead flew enormous rotting dragons on putrescent wings. This will be our end, Count Blua said, looking out at the approaching army, his face pale. What madness is this? How can we hope to triumph against such odds? And quat. Hey, don't worry about it. My babies and explosions will destroy them all. Mei declared. Blua swallowed, then nodded hesitantly back to her. I fear I was overcome for a moment, Lady Hatsum. My apologies. And quat. They do look scary, but don't worry, Izuku is really strong. Mei said. He can punch all those bad guys super hard. Plus, I made him new babies with Aqua's help, so he's going to be extra tough! And quat. Blushing, Izuku looked down at his new armor yet again, fighting not to fidget as he was showcased. Aqua and Hatsum had worked together over the past week and a half to make a special set of what amounted to a flexible Kevlar equivalent, alongside a titanium-reinforced bodysuit, fitted with extra plating on the lower arms and hands, and thicker pieces along the shins and feet. These allowed Izuku to both move quickly and finally gave him a weapon that could keep up with him and the outrageous forces he subjected himself to. Hopefully, at least. Aqua also said that it had some kind special properties, being blessed by 2 goddesses, Megumin having blessed it as well, though that sort of worried Izuku as he thought it might explode if he hit something, and was now about equivalent to a sacred tool of the highest order. Or at least it was by Megumin's reckoning. It also had special grooves fitted into the finger joints, so that Izuku could fire off blasts of air by flicking his fingers without breaking the gauntlet itself. Aqua's primary contribution was that it provided continuous healing to him, fixing minor wounds in seconds and repairing broken bones in minutes. The only drawback Izuku could really notice was that injuries took longer to heal the farther from the central armor pieces they were. Megumin's addition seemed to be that when he punched something, there was a random chance of it triggering an explosive blast, though it was sometimes hard to tell if it was the gauntlets causing the explosion or simply the force Izuku was using. Izuku had also tried testing it, but finding a solid figure on just what the actual % chance was eluded him. Obviously, it won't trigger if you're just punching a dummy. Megumin had informed him after it had taken nearly an hour of Izuku beating on a training mannequin to get a single blast. It only works when it's appropriately dramatic. You also need to shout out something cool. Not just smash or whatever, but a real special technique name. Like, Fist of Justice. Or Exploding Fist Technique. That's how Crimson Demon magic works! And quat. Okay, I'll test that out now then, Izuku muttered, looking down at his gauntlet and flexing it into a tight fist. Not just yet! And quat. Izuku turned to see a grinning Megumin leading forward a line of mages dressed in dark robes, wearing what looked like painted oni masks. It's time to show you what my Crimson Demons can do. The erratic proto-goddess bragged. Now, begin the sacred chant! And quat. The mages joined hands, and began to skip forward, singing in a cheery tone, Bakuretsu, Bakuretsu la la la. Bakuretsu, Bakuretsu la la la! And quat. Oh my god, Izuku groaned, rubbing the bridge of his nose. You can't be serious! And quat. He felt the tug on his leg to see a grinning Mei looking up at him. Come on, let's sing too! And quat. Feeling foolish now, Izuku climbed down off his horse, and took Mei's hand. They began to skip forward in time to the beat, Mei cheerily singing the nonsense lyrics, which was just explosions repeated over and over again. After a moment, the absurdity of the situation made Izuku laugh, and he started singing along, just enjoying being with Mei. And then, the explosions actually started. A pair of mages would skip forward, raising their hands skyward and chanting in time with the song as the rest skipped around them. My soul is crimson, my will is that of a demon. I cry out to the void, and the void answers. Now, come forth my power, by the will of the goddess, Megumin, mistress of destruction. Explosion exclamation mark and quat. And then a detonation would strike the line of horrors moving towards then, creating smoking craters and 2 growing mushroom clouds. The pair of mages would collapse then, sighing in ecstasy, and the group would move forward, a new pair of mages making up an equally insane spell as attendants moved in to help those that had used their spell. Despite how silly the ritual felt to Izuku, the results were undeniable. The enemy force was rapidly being reduced to smoldering ash, and the morale of the army was growing by the moment. In fact, many of the soldiers picked up the song, much to Izuku's chagrin. Then, a pair of skeletal dragons broke away, diving for the mages and roaring in blood-curdling anger. "Ha! My turn!" Mei cackled, drawing her crossbow. "You get the one on the right," Izuku exclamation mark and quat. "On it," Izuku agreed, leaping into the air. The dragon bellowed, opening its diseased jaws wide as if to swallow the jumping hero. "Air jet blast," Izuku cried, flicking both his middle fingers at the dragon when it was only 10 meters away. That, of course, triggered a massive burst of air, along with twin jets of explosions. The wind slammed into the dragon, knocking it from ASCII in the air. Izuku then kicked his legs, generating another gust of air, and shot through the air off the resulting shockwave. Izuku's gauntlet found itself solidly lodged in the rotten dragon's skull, and together they immediately began to plummet to earth. The dragon tried to free itself, but Izuku swung his other fist, impaling it in bone as well. With a sickening crack, the dragon impacted the surface, sending Izuku flying. Whatever magic was holding it together faded, reducing it to nothing but another jumble of bones and rotting flesh. Groaning, Izuku stood as the suit's magic healed him. He looked over to where Mei was, and watched as she fired a steady stream of bolts at her own dragon. Each of them had been outfitted with explosives, and the dragon roared in pain as its bones shattered under their impacts. Mei aimed for the wings, zoom allowing her to see exactly where its remaining tendons connected for maximum effect, sending the maddened beast spiraling down to the ground. Mei loaded another rack of explosives bolts and blew it to pieces. "My babies are the cutest," Mei hooted, slapping in another rack and cocking her crossbow. "Good job, Izuku exclamation mark and quat. Yeah, you too. Look out, here come more exclamation mark and quat." This time, half a dozen dragons swooped down at them, coming at them from the flanks as monster bugs rushed down the center. Izuku jumped into the air, then slammed his open palms together. Smash exclamation mark and quat. A shockwave of compressed force shot forward a blade of air from his impact, cutting directly through the frail flesh of one dragon, and sent the 2 others tumbling to the ground, disoriented. Izuku turned to try again on his left, but Mei had already finished emptying her bolt rack into one dragon, then chanted, 2L plus Fe 203 to 2 Fe plus L 203 plus 850 kilojoules per mole exclamation mark and quat. As the words were spoken, the last dragon didn't even have time to roar in pain, simply disintegrating in a ball of flame. Mei fell back onto the ground, giggling madly. The remaining mages were thankfully able to cover her prone form, handling the line of bugs as explosions blasting their lines and reducing them to smoking hunks of ichor and carapace. Cavalry troops moved in, trampling the remaining stragglers. Despite the destruction though, the land still wriggled and squirmed with thousands or perhaps millions of insects more, and Izuku could still see hundreds of undead shambling forward, from undead rats to cows to a disturbing number of shambling humans. Izuku hurried over to check on Mei, but she seemed fine, if totally drained of energy for the moment. He helped her back to the clerics for treatment. After making sure she would be cared for, Izuku turned to see Aqua glaring out at the encroaching blight, her staff held in a white-knuckled grip, and an angry snarl on her normally mischievous face. "What's the matter?" Izuku asked, moving to stand beside the usually easygoing goddess. "This is wrong. Something is corrupting the life essence of this world. I can sense it. A powerful magical artifact, like one of the sacred relics we give to adventurers. But twisted somehow. I'm going to have to purify it, or it will keep summoning more unlife and insects to it," Aqua said, looking serious for once in her life. Izuku frowned, nodding slowly. "Okay. How do we do that question mark and quat?" Aqua grimaced. "I'm going to have to get to the center of that. I can keep off the undead myself, but the insects and crawlies, I can't do much about those. I can purify the land but that won't just kill them. And quat. Right. I'll take you then. Hop on," Izuku told Aqua, gesturing to his back. She gave him a wary look. "You just want to feel my boobs, don't you question mark and quat?" Izuku took a deep breath, trying to contain his frustration. He barely succeeded. Look, this is a battle. People are going to die if we don't fight. Countless people have died. And honestly, if I wanted boobs, all I'd have to do is ask May. I'm pretty sure she'd let me feel hers. No offense, Aqua, but you're really not all that appealing to me. And quat. What, am I not pretty enough for you? Aqua demanded. I am a literal goddess. My measurements are perfect, calculated to be in quat. Because you're a spoiled brat who reacts like this in the middle of a life or death situation, Izuku said bluntly. May might not be as perfect as you, but she's real, and she likes me, and she's smart, and brave, and really pretty. And I'm honestly offended you think I'd cheat on her in the middle of a crisis. And quat. Aqua blinked at Izuku, then cocked her head to one side. And quat. You're talking this surprisingly well, Izuku said, suddenly feeling unsure about what to do. He'd half expected Aqua to explode, and the other half had expected her to cry and pout. You just reminded me of someone. That's all. Okay. Let's do this. I think I can trust you, Midoriya. You're not Kazuma, but I still think we can be friends. And quat. Right. Let's warn the king and the others first. And quat. Izuku said. He hurried over to where the king was sitting on his horse, surrounded with his mages and generals, Aqua following right behind him. Lord Midoriya, the king hailed, nodding to Izuku. The battle goes well, for now. Still, I am worried. We are running out of mages, and though their magic is beyond anything I have ever seen, I fear it will not last for long enough to break this foe. My men are brave, but those beasts have slaughtered every man that has tried to face them, save you. And quat. We're going to try to find whatever it is that's guiding those things, Izuku told Blua. I'm going to jump into the middle of it with Aqua. She says that there is a magical object of some kind summoning and controlling them. If we destroy it, we can end this. It's a risk, I know, but we have to take it. And quat. You would leap into the very heart of that swarm? King Charles asked, shocked at the very idea. He shook his head. You are a brave man, Wolfsbane. But, I thank you. I would offer to go myself, but I fear that though I bear our most powerful relics, I would be of little use to you. And quat. Yeah, I'm sorry as well, but, I saw what happened to Blua and his knights when we fought the Wolf Queen. Your soldiers are brave, but this is beyond them. At least for the moment. Don't worry, I'll stand, one for all, against this darkness. Everything will be okay. Because we are here. And quat. Izuku said, smiling up at the king. We'll handle this. And quat. Wait, one more thing, Aqua said. We need Megumin. And quat. Izuku hesitated, then nodded in agreement. Megumin was strange, but her spell was even more powerful than what he could do at the moment, even if he ruined his body. Having backup wasn't a bad plan. A powerful relic? Of course, I'll help Aqua. Don't worry, my explosion magic will crush whatever comes at us. Megumin promised. She frowned at Izuku. How do we get there though? And quat. I'll be jumping into the middle of the swarm. While you and Aqua deal with the relic, I'll fight whatever tries to attack us. And quat. Very well. I shall call down dark power, to smite our foes! And quat. That's crazy, Izuku muttered. But I guess you're both goddesses, so it's accurate. Right. Aqua, you climb on my back, Megumin, I'll carry you. Let's do this. And quat. Taking a deep breath, Izuku squatted, then took a running start before launching himself into the air. The ground beneath him was pulverized from the force of his takeoff, and horses bucked wildly alongside startled men from the sound that followed it. Izuku flew well over 100 meters into the air, the wind whipping past him. To propel himself, Izuku kicked at the air again, the force of his kicks enough to shoot him out over the field and into the center of the enemy army with minimal damage as he avoided frantic dragons, along with undead birds and bats that tried to pursue them. Then Aqua pointed her hand at them. Turn undead. The simple spell was enough to reduce the flying enemies to ash, though it didn't stop the few insects that rose up on thrumming wings to give chase. Izuku proved to be too fast for them to reach, however, seeming to dash through the air with powerful gusts left in his wake that shredded the pursuing monsters. There! Megumin called, pointing at a dark obelisk at the center of the swarm in a wagon pulled by undead horses. It was made of dark stone that seemed to draw in the light around it, broken only by veins filled with what looked like solid rot and corruption, as insects crawled out of its base in constant waves. I see it! And quat. How long do you need to prepare your spell? Izuku asked as they fell downwards. Megumin laughed. That's my secret, Midoriya. I don't need to prepare anything. I'm always ready. Divine explosion! And quat. Izuku had thought what he had seen the mages conjure earlier had been impressive, and what Mei had done amazing. This was coming from the kid who grew up with Katsuki Bakugo. The mage's blasts had been fireballs that had looked like they were equal to about half a ton of TNT, while Mei's had easily been 4 or 5 times that. This blast was so massive that it swallowed up a good chunk of the swarm, which stretched for miles and miles in an instant. It was so huge that Izuku was caught in the blast, saved only by a shield of water Aqua conjured up that sheltered them from the impact. Later, Mei would inform Izuku that according to her calculations, the blast was equal to a kiloton nuclear detonation, though without the radioactive fallout, Mei having whipped up a Geiger counter somehow to check after the battle. Even with Aqua's shield though, the blast still tossed Izuku higher up into the air and spun him and the two girls about like a coin in the dryer. He managed to keep his head though, clutching tightly to the now limp Megumin and trying to correct his descent with well-timed kicks. They landed at the center of the devastation, where nothing remained but a huge crater and, worryingly, the obelisk. The fell device now cracked somewhat in half, but seemed to be mostly intact despite its decayed state. "Perfect," Aqua said, jumping off Izuku's back. "I'll handle this." She ran over to the obelisk, putting her hand on it. Purification. Purification. Ugh, this is nasty. I'll take a few minutes. Purification! In quote. "What did you think?" Megumin asked, clutching at Izuku's armor. "What rating would you give my explosion? In quote. "I don't know. That was, Megumin, that was the biggest explosion I have ever seen, and I know a guy named Katsuki Bakugo who literally sweats explosions," Izuku told her. Megumin curled her lip. "Oh, so he gets to name himself Master Explosion Winner, does he? Well, you tell your friend that I'm the master of explosion magic, you hear? In quote. "Sure," Izuku agreed, smiling. "It will be good to see Kaken again. We have to have nearly one, right? In quote. "Foolish child. You have done nothing of the sort. In quote. Izuku spun to see two women on the lip of the crater, both dressed in uniforms similar to those the Wolf Queen had worn. One was a blonde woman with dead eyes and a murderous grin, while the other was off. Izuku couldn't put his finger on it. She looked like a cute girl with dark hair, but something about her was just wrong. Like looking at a distorted photo. Izuku quickly backed away, setting Megumin down by Aqua. "Aqua, get ready. Those two look like trouble. In quote. Aqua looked up, frowning. "Who? Oh. Well, you can handle them, right? In quote. "Aqua, do they look familiar to you?" Megumin asked, struggling to sit up. I think we've seen them before. Maybe, when the Lord of the Tomb invaded Belzerk? In quote. "No, they weren't there," Aqua said dismissively. "Just let Izuku handle them, I need to finish this. In quote. "We have never met before," the small dark-haired one said in a voice that made Izuku's skin crawl. Her lips didn't move as she spoke, and the words didn't sound as though they came from a human throat. "If we had, we would have slain you for the glory of our master. In quote. "We weren't supposed to fight you," the blonde said, licking her lips as they started down into the crater. "But the wizard has used her one spell for the day, and Aqua cannot hope to fight us. We shall slay you both, and inform our master that at last, our mission has succeeded! In quote. Something about who the two women were behaving felt off to Izuku. They had to have seen him fighting before, and yet, they were confidently strolling forward. That alone urged caution. Raising his hand, Izuku fired off a blast of wind, the recoil kicking up dust and cinders. The effect the blast had on the approaching pair was drastic. The smaller one seemed to fly apart, her body unfolding as she sprawled on the ground. As for the blonde, she rippled, her body acting as if it were made of jello. Then she snapped back into shape, as if nothing had happened, only the tears and wrinkles on the fabric of her clothing showing any sign an attack had hit her. "What the heck?" Izuku gasped, taking half a step back. "Midoriya, don't touch the blonde." Megumin's voice suddenly cried. "She's a slime. If you touch her, she'll just absorb you. Physical attacks have no effect! In quote. "Oh ho, so you recognize what I am, do you?" The maid chuckled, her mouth spreading wide in a hideous grin. "We waited until you'd expended your spell, Megumin. Your explosion magic could kill me outright, but you have nothing else that could possibly affect me. Not even that boy's wind can touch me, for it is merely physical air and not wind magic! In quote. "You forgot about me," Aqua cried, pointing at the slime. "Sacred purification! In quote. The light surrounded the woman and engulfed her, but when it faded she only tittered. Oops, I'm not a poison slime, you know. I'm a predator slime. And quat. Shall we kill them now? Epsilon question mark and quat. Izuku's gut clenched and his skin seemed to crawl. The body of the smaller girl rose up on 4 black legs, a long centipede body extending behind it. Her face was now hanging down towards the ground, but that only revealed the many-eyed spider-like true head. Indeed, Zeta. Enough games. And I'm hungry, the blonde hissed. That was when Megumin stood up, causing both of the foes to gasp and recoil. Thank you for revealing your weakness. You see, I am now no ordinary archwizard. And quat. This cannot be. Epsilon gasped. She used her spell. She can use it but once per day. There are no manatite or recovery potions in this realm, and that fool is still in Konosuba. General Emmy and Gamma cannot have failed. We would have heard something exclamation mark and quat. She must be bluffing, Zeta hissed. Breath of fly exclamation mark and quat. A swarm of insects spewed forth from Zeta's mouth, and Izuku hastily grabbed Aqua and Megumin, jumping away to the lip of the crater. Megumin? Aqua asked, sounding worried as Izuku set them down. Humph, Megumin said, raising her staff. You should never underestimate a crimson demon. And quat. Kill them now. Epsilon raged as she dashed towards them. Summon more insects. We have to kill them before and quat. Megumin smirked. Explosion. And quat. The fireball this time was much less impressive, leaving a smaller crater at the center of the other, but it was still larger than anything Mei or the mages mustered by an order of magnitude. Afterward, Mei would compare the crater size and blast radius to at least 10 tons of TNT in yield, and Izuku had to brace himself to shelter both Aqua and Megumin as the shock wave enveloped them. He grunted in pain, but managed to hold firm thanks to his armor. When the dust and smoke finally settled, there was nothing left of either Epsilon or Zeta. Humph. I never liked those two anyway, Aqua sniffed. Good riddance. Now if only we can do that to the rest of the Lord of the Tomb's minions. And quat. She slid down into the crater, jogging across it to the still relatively unscathed obelisk. Excuse me, Megumin said, tugging Izuku's pants leg. He looked down to see her flopped on the ground. I'm afraid I will have to ask you to carry me again, please. That time, I used my own mana reserves as I was somewhat low on prayers and offerings. That divine explosion used a lot, and I wanted to save some for my followers. And quat. Yeah, Izuku agreed, picking Megumin up, and then hurrying back down into the crater to follow Aqua. Thanks. You really think that slime was so dangerous? And quat. They really are immune to most physical attacks, Megumin told him. You might have been able to hurt her eventually, but if she touched you she'd have dissolved and eaten you. Predator slimes digest their food live, so it would not have been pleasant. And quat. Probably not, Izuku agreed. He ended up having to fight off a few more giant insects and skeletal dragons that attacked while Aqua purified the evil obelisk, but that wasn't too difficult. Once the obelisk finally crumbled to dust under Aqua's purifying spells, the magic animating the undead faded. Even the insects began to burrow underground or feast upon the carrion, apparently now unconcerned with anything beyond basic survival. A miraculous victory, King Charles praised them as they returned to the war camp. Beyond miraculous. Foes such as that should have wiped out my entire army, to say nothing of my kingdom. And yet, we have barely a dozen dead, and a few hundred wounded, most of them mages suffering from exhaustion. And Lady Aqua says she can raise all our dead. For now, our lands are safe, and we can lick our wounds. This is a victory beyond my wildest hopes. And quat. That slime girl said something though, Izuku mentioned. Something about a place called Konosuba? It sounded like they were under attack too. And quat. The king shifted uneasily in his seat, an ornately carved wooden throne set up under a pavilion. Konosuba is the land this foul army came from. They are our traditional rivals. They sent word they were beset with foes, and we were negotiating to send aid, but with such troubles within our own borders we had to redirect our efforts lest we too be overwhelmed. And quat. The last word we had was that the Kaiser had gone out with his army to face the foe in the field, Count Blua reported. If it were a tenth the strength of this one, I find it unlikely they prevailed. And quat. If Konosuba falls, they will come here next. We would be wise to prepare for such an event, the king said. No, Izuku cried, shaking his head and raising his fist. I came here to save the whole world. If Konosuba is in trouble, we have to try to help them. The Lord of the Tomb is a danger to everyone. Not just one land, but all of them! And quat. He's right, it would be pretty dumb to let all those people just die. That would just give the Lord of the Tomb more fodder for zombies. Or something stupid like, I don't know, super zombie. And quad. Aqua agreed. The king considered that for a long while, then sighed and nodded. You are, unfortunately, correct. I cannot send my entire force to a foreign land. However, there are still monsters that are about, and our forces are wearied already from these unending conflicts, to say nothing of trying to finance such a large trip. I can, however, deploy a contingent of a few hundred knights and mages to ride to Hauptstadt. You will be in command, Lord Midoriya. And quat. Me? Izuku gasped, startled and turning pale at the mere suggestion. But I'm in quat. The hero who just slew half a dozen dragons with his bare hands, carries with him the blessing of two goddesses, one of life and the other destruction, and is now the most respected man in this kingdom, King Charles told him. Do not fret. I shall send Marquis Blua with you to provide wise counsel for you. And quad. Your Grace? Blua gasped, jerking himself. The king smiled. You have done your king and people a great service, Marquis. Do not think I have not noticed. Consider this your first test to see if you are worthy of your new titles. And quad. I shall not fail, Blua promised, bowing. He grinned proudly, slapping Izuku on the shoulder. Come, Wolfsbane. We have much to prepare for before we set out upon the morrow. And quad. Konosuba. Deku. Once again, Kazuma was dead. Considering he had spent several centuries that way, it didn't really bother him. What did bother him was that he was currently all alone in the now familiar circle of light. He looked around, putting his arm over the back of his chair and frowning. Hello? Get a little service here? Come on. Sheesh, I'm a VIP, you know. If no one comes, I'm just going back to Aqua's room! And quat. You! And quat. Kazuma turned around to see a blonde goddess stalking forward, a look of pure murder on her face. Oh hey, Rista. Saya around? And quat. He's busy fighting the Lord of the Tomb, just like you should be, you good-for-nothing meat. Rista snarled, planting her fists on her hips. Do you know how much trouble you idiots have caused for me? And quat. Kazuma shrugged. I mean, I just defeated one of his armies and blew up two of his generals. Don't see what the big deal is. Just let me go back to Aqua's room. I'm sure Megumin misses me. And quat. She didn't miss you at all, that's the problem. She blew you sky high. Rista ranted. After stealing hundreds of my followers! And quat. What? Kazuma blinked in confusion. No, I blew myself up with my weight spell. Crap, I didn't even cast it. Those goblins are still in quat. Piles of ash, unlike you, who somehow, thanks to your stupidly good luck skill, are just an extra crispy corpse instead, Rista said, sticking a finger under Kazuma's nose. You tell Aqua when she finishes with you that we are going to have words about just how many of my followers she's stealing. Upper management is going to in quat. Rista, quit wasting your time with the NEET, Saya, Rista's husband said, stepping into the light beside her. Kazuma rolled his eyes at the man. They had never gotten along, Kazuma being the consummate slacker and Saya being a hardcore overachiever. He's useless as his goddess. He's never prepared for anything. And quat. Hey, I was totally prepared, you rude asshole, Kazuma snapped, standing and glaring up at the much taller Saya. I made cannons and blew up that whole army. But this Lord of the Tomb guy has cheap items too. This weird girl resummoned a whole goblin army, and sacrificing myself heroically was the only way to take them out and save my friends! And quat. If you had spent your time in the Divine Realm training instead of playing video games and eating junk food, this would not have been a problem for you, Saya said, narrowing his eyes in disgust at Kazuma. It's your group's fault the Lord of the Tomb is still such a problem anyway. And quat. Kazuma threw his hands up in the air. Oh, so it's my fault we didn't defeat him the first time? What the hell, man? Even you lost to a demon lord once. Aqua told me all about it! And quat. Yes, and I paid for it with Rista's life, and my own, and we only barely saved our child, Saya retorted, shaking his head stiffly. You should have known better this time. At least thank Aqua when she resurrects you! And quat. Oh no, she won't. I am not going back there. Where is she, anyway? I've been working my ass off fighting the Lord of the Tomb while she lazes around here. Kazuma argued. Rista frowned. Wait, you don't know? She's with you in that world. She finally got off her lazy ass and incarnated herself on the front lines, even if you are breaking the quarantine. That's what Saya and I were doing until I had to deal with you. Normally I'd delegate a death like yours, but I figured I'd take the chance to give Aqua a warning. And quat. He never listens. Come, Todoroki and the others are waiting. We must commence our assault soon, Seiya said. Fine. I'm just mad that Aqua found a way to interrupt our alone time, Rista complained. Seiya raised an eyebrow at her, looking amused for the first time this encounter. You are insatiable. How many times was it this night? In quat. I was going for 4. We have to enjoy our time in the mortal realm while we can, dear, Rista said, smiling and patting her husband's arm. Hold up a second. What do you mean, Aqua's there? It was just me and darkness. Kazuma exclaimed. I thought gods and goddesses were forbidden from incarnating because of the Godslayer. And quat. Rista shook her head. No, your entire group was there. They didn't go with Yunyun and Iris back to Belzerk. I checked. Aqua and Megumin have been stealing thousands of my faithful, which is a serious problem when I'm fighting on the front lines, Godslayer or no. And quat. Wait, Yunyun went to Belzerk? When? Why? Kazuma demanded. And what's Iris doing there? And quat. It's all these kids from that weird realm that opened up to us recently. I thought you knew. That's why you went with them, Rista explained. You know, the ones with quirks? Aren't there some in your group? In quat. Yeah, Uraka and Tokoyami, Kazuma agreed. Wait, how do you know about them? In quat. 4 of them have joined Rista and I. We are about to drive the Godslayer off of one of the Lord of the Tomb's worlds, Seiya stated. Other gods and goddesses have allied with them in other realms. At long last, Nazarick is in retreat. In quat. Wait, we're winning? For real? Kazuma demanded in disbelief. But we've been losing for so long. It didn't matter what kind of cheat items we used or how many adventurers we sent, they kept dying and failing! In quat. I know. Something has changed. Personally, I think this smacks of the hand of upper management, Rista said with a shudder. Even Seiya looked concerned at that, putting a protective hand on his wife's shoulder. Upper management? Kazuma asked. Aqua's mentioned them but I don't know much about it. Who exactly are they? Or even what? In quat. It's best if you don't know. They took over our division well before my time, but what little contact I have had with them is, well, it's best not to dwell on such things. Ah, there she is. Finally, any longer and I would have had to shove you back in that meat sack you call a corpse myself. You make sure to tell Aqua to keep her damn hands off my followers, or next time I'll go to one of her worlds and start a religious revival of my own. Rista snarled, shaking a fist even as her husband began pulling her back. Kazuma then felt a familiar tug on his soul, drawing him back to the land of the living. She's really there? In quat. Kazuma. Damn it, come on. I know there's enough of you there. Aqua's voice suddenly echoed through the void. Hurry up and come back before oof! In quat. There was the sounds of a struggle and then, Kazuma, if you don't come back right now, so help me I will! In quat. Upon hearing the new voice, Kazuma instantly allowed himself to be resurrected. He gasped for air, opening his eyes. And there she was, her eyes filled with tears as she hovered over him. Kazuma didn't say anything, just jerking up and wrapping Megumin in a tight hug. He was crying too, but tried to put a tough face on it. I should have known it was your useless ass that blew me up. I should have been familiar with the sensation by now. In quat. I'm sorry. Megumin wept uncontrollably, her face a mess even as she smiled widely. I didn't know you were there. I foolishly fired off my explosion spell, not even considering the consequences. Please forgive me! In quat. Hey, it's alright, I'm used to it, Kazuma consoled, gently patting Megumin's back. Then Kazuma realized there were other people around them. He looked up, and found a green-haired boy looking down at him worriedly. Who the hell is this guy? In quat. Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Pleased to meet you. I guess. I'm sort of the one who dragged Aqua into this. In quat. And I'm the one who got Megumin. A girl with pink hair and intensely yellow eyes said, jumping up and elbowing Midoriya aside. Hello, I'm Meihastum. Are you Megumin's boyfriend? She has told me you are very rude and dumb. In quat. Megumin looked away, her face as red as her eyes, but Kazuma just laughed. Yeah, I guess I fit right in with these idiots. Thanks, by the way, Aqua. It's good to see you again. In quat. Well, I figured you just needed the help of a goddess like myself if you wanted to have any hope of defeating the Lord of the Tomb and his minions, Kazuma, Aqua huffed, giving him a smug grin, though her eyes sparkled with genuine happiness. I thought you came here on accident because you didn't listen when Izuku asked for his bonus? Mei asked, making Aqua jerk and look away in embarrassed guilt. Yeah, That sounds about right, Kazuma agreed, slowly getting to his feet, though it took a moment longer than normal as he refused to let go of Megumin. He smiled down at her, still comfortable in his arms. Well, I bet you'll need a ride again, since you fired off your spell already today. And quat. As fun as that sounds, I'm quite capable of walking, thank you, Megumin told him, then to Kazuki's shock, actually stood up on her own and grinned impudently at him. You are not dealing with a useless wizard who knows only explosion magic anymore. Behold, I am Megumin, dark goddess of the Crimson Demon cult. She who has legions of loyal followers who partake in dark, profane rituals and in quat. We get to skip around and sing about explosions. Mei interrupted. It's really fun. Apparently it lets Megumin cast extra spells every day. I wish I could do it because after one explosion, Izuku has to carry me to and quat. Hey, ignore the prattlings of this ignorant commoner, Megumin said, waving her hand dismissively at Mei while trying desperately to keep a straight face. She knows not about the inner workings of my secretive cult. And quat. What? I thought I was your high priestess. I even made you a printing press so we could make flyers for you to hand out at every village we passed through. Mei argued, genuinely displeased at the denial. Megumin jumped at Hatsum, grabbing the taller girl by her collar. If you do not stop interrupting me and making our religion look lame, I am demoting you, do you understand me? Looking awesome and having a fearsome image is the core tenet of the Crimson Demon cult! And quat. I thought it was making a big boom? Hatsum asked. Well, yes, that is also important, Megumin admitted. She spun around, now glaring at Kazuma. Do not dare mock my religion, for in quat. She's got everyone behaving like a bunch of middle schoolers going through an edgy phase, doesn't she? Kazuma asked Midoriya. Midoriya grimaced, rubbing the back of his head. I mean, it works, but it's really weird to watch. They all do these strange poses and all the spells for the explosion are different. Hatsum just recites oxidation reactions and they work just as well as the random gothic poetry that everyone else comes up with. And quat. That is because what they are doing is offering up prayers to their goddess. The cooler they are, the more effective the spell. Megumin declared. She glanced at Aqua. Right? And quat. Sure, I mostly just like it when people tell me how awesome I am, but whatever works for you, Aqua shrugged. We can set the parameters for effective prayers as pretty much anything so long as the mortal's devotion is real. And quat. Then how come she just recites chemical equations? Kazuma asked, jerking his thumb at Hatsum. Obviously, because she is my friend, and I am doing her a favor, Megumin sniffed. If you are nice to me, perhaps I shall allow you to summon my incredible dark powers. And quat. Really? Because I had something else in mind, Kazuma said, stepping forward to loom over Megumin. She glared up at him, puffing out her chest, which remained unimpressive, and folding her arms under her breasts. And what is that? And quat. I figured I'd take your panties again, Kazuma said with a smug grin. But this time, I wouldn't be using steel. And quat. Why you jerk, Megumin cried, taking a step back and raising a fist towards Kazuma, even as a small smile broke out on her face. You think just because I blew you up that I'm going to let you do perverted things to me? Even if they sound fun, and I have been imagining finally giving myself to your savage lusts and finally sheathing your holy sword in my and quat. Oh, you totally can't do that, Aqua interrupted. Sorry, Megumin, but you're a goddess now. No sex. And quat. What? Kazuma and Megumin yelled at the same time, spinning on their blue-haired friend, one shocked, and the other outraged beyond reason. Aqua just shrugged. If you have sex with Kazuma, you totally forfeit your godly powers and followers. Those are the rules. All your followers would lose their magic and end up completely defenseless against all the Lord of the Tomb's monsters. It's in the handbook to your divinity. Here, I think I got a copy kicking around here somewhere. And quat. Impossibly, Aqua then proceeded to reach into her bodice with her full arm, moving around back and forth for several seconds before pulling out a small book, handing it over to the quivering Megumin. This is outrageous. Megumin ranted at the perceived injustice. She quickly flipped through the book, her eyes darting back and forth for some kind of loophole or sign of trickery in Aqua's words. Kazuma tried to lean over to get a look at it, but Megumin simply let out a snarl of anger. She ripped the book into shreds, then pointed her staff at it, ready to utterly erase the foul literature from existence. That is vile, wicked. I never would have signed up to be a goddess if I knew that was in the rules! And quat. Yeah, we lose more recruits through the boinking rule than any other, Aqua sighed. She made a face and a retching sound. Though I still don't know why you want to so bad. It sounds super gross. Why anyone would want to have sex, I don't know. And quat. Tears welled up in Kazuma's eyes as he sank to his knees beside the book. You mean no? Kazuma threw back his head, tearing at his hair as if he heard the world was doomed. For all he cared at the moment, it was. You're telling me I'm cursed to be a virgin NEET for the rest of existence? I chose the wrong path, damn it. I want to take back, reload my save. Let me complete this hyper-important side quest first. This isn't right! And quat. Well, screw this. Megumin ranted alongside him, stomping on the book. I swear it off. I'm not going to be a goddess anymore. I've waited for hundreds of years already and I'm not waiting a minute longer! And quat. Kazuma lowered his hands. Wait, you mean ? And quat. Megumin grabbed Kazuma by the collar of his tunic and started dragging him across the bumpy turned-up earth. We are crossing the final frontier together, and I am not waiting one moment longer. Some big-titted floozy is going to run up and shout and quat. Kazuma! And quat. Megumin let out a squeak and dropped Kazuma, who yelped as his head hit a shard of rock. Darkness? Megumin gasped, as darkness ran forward, her breasts bouncing about wildly in her nearly destroyed armor. Megumin suddenly jumped on top of Kazuma, shaking him violently. Damn it, why didn't you tell me she was here? She's been with you the entire time, hasn't she? You two have been going at it like damn bunnies every night, weren't you? I never should have let you out of my sight. The next thing you know I'll and quat. Hey, whoever you are, I'm going to warn you once, get off of Kazuma. I don't know how he's alive, but I'm going to be seriously upset if you hurt him after he managed to wipe out that army, Uraka said, stalking towards them. I resurrected him, Aqua said helpfully. Megumin's eyes took on a haunted look, and she dropped Kazuma back into the dirt. Trembling, Megumin stood, then slowly walked over to Uraka. That's better, Uraka said, frowning at the trembling tsundere mage. Now, just who are you and why are you in quat? BB boobs, Megumin stammered, hunched over as she looked right at Uraka's decently sized bosom. Damn it! And quat. Uraka went beet red and jerked away, covering her chest with her arms. What the hell is wrong with you? And quat. Curse this wretched form, Megumin whimpered, tears welling up in her eyes. This one isn't even a boob monster like darkness, and she's still bigger than me. And quat. Megumin? Darkness asked, coming over and putting a hand on the mage's shoulder. Are you And quat. Don't touch me, you worthless love rival. I thought he was mine and you stole him at the last second. Megumin raved, slapping Darkness' breasts like a pair of beach balls as they knocked back and forth. Darkness moaned and took a step back as her smaller friend continued to wail away. Curse. Please. Stupid. Giant. Gag. Ooh. And quat. Megumin shrieked as she was grabbed by the ankles and hung upside down, her hat topping from her head. Her robes tried to fall over her head as well, but she desperately tried to keep them up, though Kazuma did catch a good look at her panties. Black and lacy as always, with cute little ribbons on the side. I will warn you once, do not treat my lady so, Tokoyami declared, as Dark Shadow dangled Megumin off the ground. Yeah, he's the only one who gets to play with her tits like that. His quirk squawked. Tokoyami flushed. It's not what I am quat. Tokoyami? Kazuma said, tapping the other boy on the shoulder. Yes? And quat. Kazuma decked the bird boy right in the beak, just as he set off a flower bomb. Tokoyami staggered back as Dark Shadow screeched in annoyance, and Kazuma caught Megumin in his arms before she fell on her face. I'm gonna warn you once, he said sternly, doing his best to glare down at the flustered girl. Uraka is a friend. Don't go picking on her. And you can posture and rant all you want, but not actually hurting Darkness. That's Tokoyami's job now. And as for me, well, I'll have you know that even in this dark hour, I am firmly committed to the Megumin path and unlocking your H-scene. You realize Uraka thinks I'm a disgusting pervert and probably wouldn't touch me, let alone let me grab her boobs, right? And quat. Try it, and that blue-haired bimbo over there will have to resurrect you again, Uraka swore with an upraised fist. And, well, I personally think big boobs are completely overrated. Small chests are definitely sexier, Kazuma decreed. Just ask Darkness. And quat. He has told me that I have completely ruined boobs for him, she confirmed with no small amount of joy. And Megumin, just so you know, he was offered a harem of 2 fetching girls that he could do whatever he wished with, and he turned them down. He even declined my offers before I became involved with Tokoyami. He has been most admirably loyal. And quat. Megumin took a deep breath, then looked up at Kazuma, searching for any sign of lying. She went for a pout, but mostly it looked like she was trying hard not to cry again. Is that true? Did you really turn down a harem? That's not the Kazu trash I know. And quat. What can I say? Their boobs were way too big. Besides, I never could have done this, he said, before pinching Megumin's rear. She let out a shriek and tried to slap him, but she was too busy laughing in relief as small tears rolled down her face. In the end, she just grabbed his cheek and pulled him down for a kiss. After an embrace that should have been longer, she rested her head on his shoulder and whispered, "You really waited?" And quat. I really did. I surprise even myself sometimes. Besides, would I really be the same Kazuma if I wasn't a virgin? Neat? He asked. You keep being a goddess, and I'll be right there at your side, Megumin. Though I will say, this last explosion? 70 points. Max. And quat. What? That was an incredible explosion. I blew up an entire army. Megumin argued, slapping her hand on his head. It was at least 150 points! And quat. Yeah, but you blew me up too, so I knocked a few off, Kazuma said, letting her back down. He looked around as Megumin straightened her clothes, rubbing his chin. So, Midoriya, Hatsune, you're from the same world as Uraka and Tokoyami? And quat. They were our classmates, Tokoyami confirmed, rubbing his beak. We were on the same team in the sports festival. And quat. Wait, did you guys end up with Kazuma and Darkness as your bonuses? How did that happen? Izuku asked. Darkness asked to come with me, and Tokoyami picked Kazuma out of spite, Uraka explained. What about you two? And quat. I picked Megumin because she agreed to teach me how to make amazing explosions, and so that I would not have to go to boring heaven or get reincarnated as a baby, which would be dumb, Mei explained. Izuku got stuck with Aqua because she is not very smart. And quat. Hey! Aqua cried. She spun to face Kazuma, Darkness, and Megumin. He cheated, you believe me, right? And quat. Her three friends just gave Aqua a flat look. Aqua, they changed the rules so goddesses couldn't accidentally get chosen as a cheat item, Kazuma said slowly. Megumin rubbed her forehead. Which means, you had to deliberately choose yourself. And quat. Tokoyami blinked, seeing an inconsistency. Wait, then how did I choose Kazuma? You mean he wanted to come? And quat. All eyes turned to Kazuma, who blanched and shuffled his feet, kicking some suddenly interesting ashes. You made me really angry, questioning my awesome powers, so, I kinda sorta, accidentally, on purpose, picked myself. To prove you wrong. And quat. Ha! That means you're as dumb as I am. Aqua laughed. Aqua, you just admitted to being an idiot, right? Darkness sighed. Aqua sniffed and stuck her nose in the air with great pride. It doesn't matter, as long as everyone acknowledges that I am smarter than Kazuma, and also much more beautiful, powerful, useful, and artistically gifted. And humbler, too! And quat. You're gifted at something, alright, Kazuma muttered. He sighed, then stepped forward and pulled the startled Aqua into a hug. Thanks for saving me again, Aqua. It's good to see you again. Never thought I'd say this, but I really missed having you along. Guess I'm pretty useless without my cheat item along, And quat. Aqua sniffed, tears of her own at the corners of her eyes, and hugging Kazuma right back. I was lonely when you weren't there. I was so worried I'd finally have to reincarnate you and I'd be all alone again. You guys all have to become gods like Megumin, alright? Then we can hang out forever! And quat. Yeah, that's not happening, Kazuma said, patting Aqua on the head like a small child. I'm getting laid. I'm not staying a virgin for the rest of eternity. And quat. You keep saying that, and so does Aqua. What's a virgin anyway? Mei demanded. And why does Izuku get all weird when people say a ? And quat. It means he's a loser who never leaves the house, plays video games all day, and doesn't have a girlfriend, Uraka explained, making a face. So, basically, Kazuma, but he's out of his natural habitat right now. And quat. Oh, well then stop calling Izuku a virgin Aqua. Mei snapped. He does have a girlfriend, and he does all kinds of useful things, like going to school and helping me make babies. And we are also going to have sex because if Aqua thinks it is dumb then it is probably actually fun. And quat. That pronouncement made Uraka go deep red and make a sound like steam hissing out of a kettle as she covered her mouth and stared at Izuku, who had gone equally red, and looked as though he wanted to find a rock large enough to crawl under and die of embarrassment. "You're dating Hatsune now?" Tokoyami asked. He then gave Izuku a thumbs up. "Nice. She's pretty cute and smart. And quat. Not kinky enough," Dark Shadow opined. "I bet she's not even into the weird shit like darkness is !" And quat. Izuku managed to calm himself before Uraka. Uraka? May and I, we're sort of dating now. And quat. "Yes. Izuku has very nice muscles, and he lets me touch them, and I let him touch my boobies. It makes me feel very nice," Hatsune agreed. Happy for you," Uraka gasped, fanning herself with her hands. She managed to smile. "This world, it's pretty weird, right? But it's good to have someone you can rely on. Sounds like you, had a really interesting time here, Deku!" And quat. "Who's Deku?" Hatsune asked. "Is it Aqua? She is definitely useless." And quat. Uraka blinked. "Oh, yeah, okay. I guess I'm going to just call you Midoriya from now on. If Aqua's half the experience that Kazuma is, I wouldn't want to be associated with her either." And quat. "I just resurrected Kazuma, and I killed the undead that were left over," Aqua snapped, planting her hands on her hips. "What have you done since we came here, huh?" And quat. "Started an industrial revolution, introduced several super cute babies that can make new raw materials, blew up dragons, learned magic, and got a boyfriend. Is this a competition? Because if it is, I should be winning. You have not made anything interesting since we got here, and you don't have a boyfriend. Ha! Aqua is a virgin NEET, just like Kazuma." May laughed. "I am not a virgin NEET," Aqua snapped, furious at her own insult being used against her. "I don't know, you never left the divine realm until I came along, and all you wanted to do is go back. When you're there, all you do is nap in your room, drink yourself silly, and play video games with us all day," Kazuma pointed out. "Plus, as you pointed out, goddesses can't have sex ever, so you're definitely a virgin. At least I've gotten to second base." And quat. Megumin was kneeling and picking up the rumpled pages of the book, frowning at them. "Aqua, just what constitutes an act to make me lose my goddess powers?" And quat. Aqua put her tongue back in her mouth, having been sticking it out at Kazuma. "Huh? I told you, sex. And quat. "Right, but that could mean a lot of things. Define it, please," Megumin said, frowning at a scrap of paper. "That is when the boy inserts the penis into the vaginal canal, then orgasms, releasing sperm which swim up the fallopian tube to meet with an egg and inseminated," May recited dutifully. She shrugged. "I do not know what all that really means, but I think Izuku and I are going to find out tonight." And quat. You remember I said we were waiting for marriage, right, May?" Izuku said, sweating. "Plus, we'd have to use protection anyway. We really don't want you to end up pregnant right now." And quat. That is a good point," May agreed. She walked over and tapped Megumin on the shoulder. "Can goddesses marry people?" And quat. "Huh?" Megumin looked up, frowning. "Of course they can. Alright, I figured out a loophole. It doesn't say anything about, other kinds of stimulation. So Kazuma, don't you dare try to sneak off on me this time. I'm going to have darkness chain you the bed if I have to!" And quat. "I do have extras. They are very thick chains, excellent for holding down a demon," Darkness said eagerly, even as Tokoyami blushed. He was also betrayed by Dark Shadow stealthily rubbing his hands eagerly together just behind him. "No chains," Kazuma cried, arms in an X. He looked at Megumin warily. Are you sure? I mean, we could just wait a little longer, until we beat the Lord of the Tomb. I don't really want to see you all dead again." And quat. "I have been waiting hundreds of years. I cannot contain myself any longer." Megumin announced. "Something is happening tonight, one way or another." And quat. "Yes, you should marry Izuku and I, then we can do whatever we want." May agreed. Everyone looked to Izuku, who had gone beet red as a slow, stupid-looking grin spread across his face. Sounds good to me." And quat. "Oh God," Uraka groaned, putting her head in her hands. "I'm surrounded by perverts and idiots." And quat. "Yep," Kazuma agreed, a joyful moronic smile on his own face. "But there are perverts and idiots." And quat. Go beyond, plus ultra. Like this? Explosion. It felt decidedly odd to Izuku to be sitting with his classmates at a table for a meal. When was the last time he'd done this? He counted back, trying to calculate just how long they'd been in this world. More than 2 months, he guessed, though it was entirely possible that time passed differently here. So, he was probably 16 now. That still seemed a bit young to be getting married, but if Izuku had to share a bed with Mei again for another night, he wasn't really sure what he was going to do. But he knew for damn sure he wasn't ending up like his parents. Plus, he was entirely likely to die again in the next few days, so why not actually try and enjoy life a little while he had it? This feels weird, right? It's not just me? Uraka asked again, picking at her meal with her fork and knife. Little changes like that were something Izuku had needed to get used to, as chopsticks were apparently unknown here. It does feel odd to once more be sitting at a meal with you all, Tokoyami agreed. Almost as though we should be in the cafeteria at UA, talking about an upcoming test. I never ate in the cafeteria. Lunchtime is valuable time which could be used for making babies, Mei stated as she speared a sausage. Izuku had finally managed to persuade her that one could not live on sugar alone. But sitting with Izuku and you two is fun, so I guess I can wait. Plus, we will be making different kinds of babies later and that sounds really interesting too! Uraka shook her head slowly. I seriously didn't think I'd see Izuku getting married before we even graduated from UA, but here we are. And it doesn't even sound like the worst idea I've heard all day. Congratulations by the way, I guess ? Thanks, Izuku said, looking nervously at Mei. Was this really a good idea? Then she smiled at him, and his lower brain affirmed that it was indeed an excellent idea. So, what have the two of you done since you got here? ? Killed monsters, got laid. Dark Shadow squawked gleefully. That, isn't an entirely inaccurate statement, Tokoyami admitted. We first fought a creature known as the Duke of Terror, a giant cockroach. It was, more dangerous than it sounds. It was in a cave, and, that is when Darkness and I began our relationship. Tokoyami blushed through his feathers, finding his vegetables especially interesting. We've spent all our time either fighting, training, or traveling. Or some weird combination of the three. This world really is different than the one we left behind. The suffering we've seen, it's been making me think, mostly about how lucky we've been before all this, Uraka said quietly. I used to want to be a hero just for the money, and I still do want to get rich but I could never just stand by and watch when people needed help. I've had nightmares of if those monsters we faced ever came back home. Mei nodded and grinned, missing the door mood as she held up her crossbow. We have been making super cute babies. You have seen my crossbow, but I also made an aluminum refinery, a steam-powered electrical generator, Izuku's special baby for his armor, invented new smelting and refining methods, and developed a variety of explosives. I saw the cannons you made, those are very nice. I have thought of several upgrades we can make, such as breech loading mechanisms, recoil for the barrels, explosive shells, and a mechanical target and rangefinder! I guess you weren't kidding about starting an industrial revolution, were you? Uraka whistled, sounding impressed. You're pretty smart. I gotta admit, I wasn't really sure when Izuku asked you to be on our team back at the sports festival, but you were a good choice. I'm glad you came with us, Hatsum. Thank you. Even if I did accidentally blow up the world. I did not think about how your quirk uses anti-gravity and the interaction that would have with my baby, Mei admitted. Neither did I, but hey, if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have gotten to go on this adventure together. It's been scary and strange, but in the end I think I've made some good friends and it's been, well, kind of fun, Uraka giggled. Even Kazuma? Izuku asked, smiling as they glanced over at the table next to theirs. Their 4 odd companions were all talking happily, sharing in food and drink that had been provided by the grateful city. They were all triumphantly returned to the Kaiser's palace, where a grand celebration was already being held outside their private meal hall. As strange as it may sound, they do have a certain charm to them, even if they are decidedly odd, Tokoyami said. He just enjoys the sex, Dark Shadow squawked. Darkness said they're going all the way tonight! I seriously can't believe I'm going to be the only virgin at the end of this, Uraka sighed, before draining her mug of ale. Don't worry, we don't think you're a NEET like Aqua is, Mei assured her. Besides, I'm sure you will find someone nice. There are lots of guys here, maybe you will like one of them! Nah, I'm going home. Relationships are too expensive anyway. Best to stay single and save money, Uraka said, pouring herself another mug. Yeah, Izuku agreed, bedingling with his silverware. You think we can beat this Lord of the Tomb? From what Aqua and Megumin said, he's already conquered a bunch of worlds. I know we've managed to beat all the generals and stuff so far, but he just sounds a lot more dangerous. And quat. Of course we can. Mei declared. We're all back together again. We can do anything! And quat. Yeah, I hope you're right, Izuku agreed. He managed to smile. But hey, we're supposed to celebrate, right? And quat. A short time later, Marquis Blua came to collect Izuku, while Megumin took no time in spiriting Mei away. Marriage practices in this world differed slightly from those Izuku were familiar with, though getting dressed up in your finest was still a part of it. Izuku ended up having to borrow a fine velvet doublet and hose, along with a sable fur cloak. He declined a sword, however, and once Marquis Blua told the story of how Izuku had literally punched multiple dragons to death, it was agreed he did not require one. The ceremony was to take place in the Great Hall of the Kaiser's Palace, before assembled dignitaries from two previously hostile nations. It felt decidedly surreal and odd to Izuku, and he was more than a little nervous and worried, wondering what would go wrong. After all, what would his mother think? But then the music started, and Izuku didn't have much time to worry anymore. He, along with Tokoyami, Kazuma, and Marquis Blua, strode out into the main hall in the diamond formation, to where Aqua was standing atop the dais at the end of the hall. She smiled at Izuku, winking mischievously. Who approaches the goddess of water, Aqua? She demanded, doing her best to sound imperious. Lord Izuku Midoriya, the Wolfbane, hero of two realms and defender of the Axis faith, Marquis Blua proclaimed. What does he seek this day? Aqua asked, turning to the next in line. He seeks the hand of a maiden to join his own and quat. Tokoyami declared. Aqua nodded seriously. Is he brave and true? And will he protect and succor her always? And quat. I mean, the dude punched a werewolf in half and drop-kicked a dragon, apparently. And quat. Kazuma said with a shrug. Plus, he can't be a worse cook than Hatsune from what I've heard. And quat. Izuku had to stifle nervous giggles at Kazuma's rather colorful and inappropriate response. Blua looked mortified, but Tokoyami merely rolled his eyes while the Kaiser actually barked out a laugh, by now apparently taking a liking to Kazuma's rather novel way of speaking. Kazuma. Aqua hissed. Stick to the script! And quat. Ugh, fine. Yee, barely. Sir Wolfsbane is the baddest of asses and hath slain many a foul beast, and wilt surely provide goody eats in a house or something, Kazuma said in a mocking tone. Aqua gave Kazuma a death glare, before smiling sweetly. But where is the maiden that he seeks? And quat. That was when the lights went out, black curtains falling over the windows. The assembled dignitaries gasped in shock, while Aqua let out a squeal. Damn it, Megumin! And quat. But it was too late. A bright light started to shine on the side door that Mei's party was supposed to come out of. Tremble, mortals, for a maiden approaches. Megumin's voice, distorted and echoing from amplification, proclaimed. Behold, the high priestess of the Crimson Demon cult, the inventor of the cutest babies in the entire land, and the hottest bride in town! And quat. Me, Mei shouted, jumping out of the door, her arms spread wide. She was wearing not the bridal gown that had been selected for her, but rather a long leather jacket like a duster, along with a pink blouse and brown trousers, and of course, her goggles. That's not the line, you've got to say it, Megumin hissed, sticking her head out of the door. Oh, right. And quat. Mei snapped her fingers, before suddenly striking a pose, going up on one leg and sticking her hands out. Super bridal party, assemble! And quat. Megumin slid out of the door, crouching low with her arms out at her sides pointing down. Megumin, the maid of honor, and mistress of explosions! And quat. Darkness twirled out of the door in her repaired armor, striking a pose while flexing one arm and pointing skyward with the other. Darkness, the toughest of the bridesmaids, and mistress of defense! And quat. Uraka jumped out, crouching above Megumin between Darkness and Mei, making a double V sign by her face. Uravity, the sanest of the bridesmaids, she who thought this was really silly but went along with it for her friends and a medium-sized bribe! And quat. And me. Mei Hatsune, the bride, the smartest one and the inventor of super cute babies, she who will marry Izuku today. Super bridal party! And quat. Where evil rears its ugly face, Megumin purred. Darkness smiled. We'll take the field, with poise and grace! And quat. We'll save the day. Never fear, Uraka cheered. Because me, May the bride, is here. May cackled. Wow, Kazuma said, shaking his head. Didn't realize Megumin had been watching Super Sentai. And quat. What? Megumin cried, jumping up as the others relaxed into a normal position, mirroring the boys. That was totally the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z! And quat. Yeah. So, a Super Sentai knockoff, Kazuma agreed. He looked at Izuku. Right? Back me up here man. And quat. Izuku, however, was too busy clutching his stomach and laughing. He'd been nervous before, but those feelings were completely forgotten. Yeah, I've never heard of either of those, Tokoyami said with a shrug. But it was certainly, something. We should practice something like that for when we go into battle. And quat. Will you all shut up? Aqua demanded. You are ruining my wedding ceremony! And quat. Oh relax Aqua, this is Hatsume's show. Besides, Izuku seemed to enjoy it, and that's what matters, Kazuma said. He gave Megumin a thumbs up. 10 points! And quat. Yes, Megumin said, grinning as the girls walked up to the dais. I told you all the practice would pay off. And quat. That was fun. We should do weddings more often, May said, grinning widely at Izuku. What did you think? That was way better than all the boring stuff! And quat. I loved it, Izuku said, going over to take May's hands in his own. It was definitely more you than anything else I thought would happen. And quat. Can we get this back on track already? Aqua demanded. Oh just get to the good part already, May said. We all know we're both going to say yes anyway! And quat. Aqua rolled her eyes. Fine, we'll do it your way. Look, Izuku, do you love May and want to marry her? And quat. Yes, Izuku said, the dopey grin appearing back on his face. Super. Hatsume, you and quat. I love Izuku very much and want to marry him and make lots of babies together. And not just the invention kind. May interrupted. Aqua sighed with a hand on her face. Great. By the power vested in me, I and quat. There was a loud bang, and flames spurted up behind Izuku and May, making both of them jump in surprise. Then we rend reality asunder. Behold, forevermore, these two shall be joined as one. Go forth, and kick ass in my name. Megumin cried. Izuku then finally noticed that two of her cultists had placed braziers full of coals behind them, which were now blazing with flames. He had thought those were for the celebration meal? No. I join these two in holy matrimony, and I, Aqua, goddess of water. A deluge of water suddenly descended upon the braziers, quenching the fires, but also completely soaking the wedding party and the first couple rows of guests. Do bind these two in holy matrimony! And quat. You may kiss the bride. Megumin cackled. Kindle, Kazuma said, as he and Tokoyami held up two flares, each coming to life, spraying the stage in sparks. Izuku and May finally came together, their mouths meeting as they ignored the chaos around them, and instead found solace in one another, even as a ranting Aqua began chasing a giggling Megumin around the dais. They separated, grinning and holding each other. That, Blua said, wiping water off his face, was perhaps the most bizarre wedding I have ever seen. And quat. Stick around, Dark Shadow chuckled, now shrunken and sitting on Tokoyami's shoulder. With this bunch around, something weirder is bound to happen! And quat. I do not doubt that, strange demon, Blua agreed. He shrugged and smiled. Well my lord, shall I show you to the wedding suite? And quat. Yes, May said enthusiastically. We're going to have sex! And quat. Blua coughed, going red and trying in vain to hide a smile. Yes, that is the traditional activity after one is wed. Come. And quat. Izuku and May were led to a lavish suite consisting of rooms consisting of a giant 4-poster bed, and a large assortment of other amenities ensuring complete privacy. They were then left alone, still dripping wet, on a lush rug. Well, you look nice, Izuku managed, unsure of how to proceed from here. Not that he didn't understand the general mechanics of the thing, just that now he was here, he wasn't certain on what to do. I'm wet and cold. And quat. May complained. Aren't you? Come on, help me take these off. And quat. After that, Izuku figured things out pretty quickly. Even in the midst of the most terrifying time of his life, he had managed to find joy. Konosuba. Academia. Lying on top of the tangled bedsheets, Kazuma and Megumin both panted for breath as they embraced on another. I think that's everything. But well, Kazuma gasped, grinning proudly at Megumin. Yes, Megumin agreed, a smug look on her flushed face. I guess no one can call you a virgin anymore. And quat. Hey now, technically, we're both still virgins, Kazuma protested, a lazy grin creeping across his lips. Yeah, no. Nice try though. Good grief. And quat. Kazuma and Megumin let out a squawk of panic, clinging tighter to one another at the sudden voice. Who is it? Megumin demanded, grabbing for one of the sheets and trying to cover herself. I'll blow them to bits. Expen quat. Not inside, Kazuma cried, covering her mouth, but he still glared at the drapes around them. Skinning this bastard alive, however, isn't off the table. Where's my sword? And quat. Megumin giggled. Still worn out, it looks like. And quat. Not that. I mean Chunchunmaru. Kazuma stuck his hand out to the dresser beyond the drapes, fumbling around for a moment. He also grabbed Megumin's staff, tossing it to her as he brandished his sword. Then the both of them stuck their heads out of the drapes, weapons at the ready. Kazuma blinked at the sight that greeted them. Whatever he had expected, a harried-looking Japanese salaryman in a cheap suit, wasn't it? Despite the fact that it was the middle of the night, the man wore sunglasses, and was yawning into his hand. Will you two quit screwing around, literally and metaphorically, and get out here already? The salaryman complained, glancing at a watch on his wrist tiredly. Look, I'm very busy, and I just don't have time for this right now. Good grief, you goddesses picked the worst times for this. And quat. Hey man, what the hell are you doing here? This is our private room, Kazuma shouted, pointing his sword at the main in a shaking motion. Yes. And I left specific instructions that I would explode anyone who interrupted us. Megumin snarled. So if you don't leave right now, so help me, I'll quat. Yeah, let's just take this somewhere else. You're clearly not going to cooperate, the salaryman sighed, snapping his fingers. The next thing Kazuma knew, he was sitting naked in a chair itself, floating in a pool of light, a shocked-looking Megumin in an identical chair next to him, equally devoid of coverings. Alright, let's just get down to it, the salaryman said, sighing again and sitting down across from them, a chair of his own suddenly manifesting. He took out a pen from his front pocket and clicked it, a clipboard appearing in a flash of color in his hands. Let's see, you're the goddess of explosions? Since when did we have a goddess of explosions? And quat. What are you doing? Megumin cried, jumping behind her chair and trying to hide. This is inappropriate. I am a goddess, you know. You can't just treat me like this! And quat. Yeah, Kazuma agreed from his own position, hiding behind his chair and trying to cover himself, while also trying to get an eyeful of Megumin. The lighting was doing interesting things to her sweat-covered skin, to say the least. And she always was cute when she was angry. I know, that's what I just said. Let's see, you were recruited by, oh, good grief. Of course, Aqua. I should have known. And quat. The salaryman rubbed his temples. Ugh, what was the chief thinking when she created Aqua? That goddess has been nothing but trouble. And quat. Well, I mean, yeah, but at least she doesn't kidnap people and make them answer questions while they're naked. Kazuma shouted. Oh right, sorry. Here. And quat. The salaryman snapped his fingers, and two sets of robes appeared on the chairs. Kazuma and Megumin quickly scrambled into them, still glaring at their abductor. Just who the hell are you, anyway? Kazuma demanded. The god of co-blocking assholes? And quat. You can call me John Smith, the man said, leafing through his clipboard. I'm the god of, well, basically everything, though officially I'm the director of personnel or something. I'm from upper management. And quat. Kazuma and Megumin shared a worried look, then slowly sat down in their chairs, feeling their indignation give way to subtle fear. Aqua had always warned them to stay away from upper management, or getting their attention, mostly because it would likely result in them being kicked out of the divine realm. So, Smith said, looking up with a hangdog expression. Congratulations, you've slept with a goddess and are your first mortal. Huzzah! There are, of course, consequences, Mr. Wait. This can't be right. You're human. How are you 215? Where have you? Oh good grief. And quat. I don't know what you're talking about, Kazuma said. I'm obviously 17. Or was it 18? Look, see, I was an ordinary Japanese high school student, and quat. No, you were a shut-in NEET that got swept up in our isekai program, because those types are desperate enough that they'll let us throw them into the most absurd situations with minimal complaints, Smith interrupted, his eyes darting back and forth on the page before him. Okay, just what was Aqua up to? She kept you here in the divine realm for centuries. What were you even doing all that time? And Quat. Playing video games together, mostly, Megumin admitted. Smith looked up at her, scowling, then flipped through a few pages. Oh, you have to be kidding me. Of course. You two knew each other as mortals, and finally decided to consummate your relationship the moment you got sent back to the mortal realm. Well, since you're both technically inhabitants of the divine realm, I guess that makes you both gods, which makes this even weirder, somehow. And Quat. So, do I get to keep empowering my followers? Megumin asked, clutching her staff nervously. We really need them to finish taking down the Lord of the Tomb, and well, we were trying to stay technical virgins, so. And Quat. Oh please. Just because you two managed to avoid sticking it in a single orifice when you thoroughly exploited every other way of getting each other off does not make you virgins by any but the most asinine of definitions. I'm not stupid, and neither is the chief, Smith told them, sounding completely exasperated. I swear, every god and goddess tries this the first time. Let's step back a second though. You're actually fighting Nazarick? And you haven't been utterly crushed yet? And Quat. The Great Tomb? Yeah, we've iced a bunch of generals, Kazuma said, not too sure about the sudden topic shift. We killed the Duke of Terror, this robot maid, a lightning wizard maid, and a weird girl who summoned an army of goblins. And Quat. My group took out the Wolf Queen, a predator slime, and a weird bug monster, and they all looked like maids too. Naturally, my incredible mastery of explosion magic was key to our success, and I personally dealt the finishing blow to. And Quat. Kazuma rolled his eyes and interrupted. The kids with the weird quirks got most of the kills, you know, the ones from that crazy future version of Japan? And Quat. Smith sat back, looking gobsmacked, while Megumin glared at Kazuma. You've taken out 5 of the Pleiades and 2 area-level guardians? That's okay. Well then, look, we're going to make an exception for now. Normally I'd give you the whole spiel, but honestly, this is more progress than I had any right to expect, especially not from a couple of half-baked NEETs who seem to have stumbled their way into divinity. I'm overworked as it is, but finally managing to push Ainz back. Yes, you're keeping your status as a goddess, contingent on future performance. And Quat. What about me? Kazuma whined, having literally died for the cause. More than once. Well, I'm not instantly reincarnating you or sending you off to heaven, so count your literal blessings, Smith told him flatly, making Kazuma shut up and sit on his hands. We're done here. We'll be having another talk once you've managed to either die again or driven Nazarick off your world. You can guess which one I'd prefer. And Quat. Then, with another snap of his fingers, Kazuma and Megumin found themselves standing naked in their room once more. What just happened? Kazuma asked, looking around and blinking. Was that some stupid dream or something? And Quat. I think he really was from upper management, Megumin said, clutching at herself and shivering. Kazuma, I sensed an overwhelmingly powerful aura from him. And Quat. Awkwardly, Kazuma stepped forward, wrapping Megumin in his arms to comfort her. Hey, it's all right. Seems like we got away with it, even impressed him. I mean, I guess those maids were really strong or something. But, you know what this means? Kazuma leered down at Megumin, and to his delight, she gave him a smug grin. Yes. No reason not to go all the way now. But, is the holy sword ready to venture unknown depths? Megumin teased, moving side to side slyly. Oh, I'll be sure to boldly go. And Quat. It took a little bit of effort, but as it turned out, Excalibur was indeed more than up to the task, to their mutual delights. The next morning, after a bonus round, Kazuma strolled down to the shared dining room, where Izuku and Tokoyami were sitting at a table together, stupid, satisfied grins on their faces. Kazuma attempted to wipe his own languid smile away, but decided it wasn't worth the effort. Good morning, Kazuma sighed, sitting at the table and sipping at his mug of hot tea. Yeah, Midoriya said, sounding dazed. It's good. And Quat. Very good, Tokoyami agreed, his tone more distant than usual. Dark Shadow was on the floor, snoring with an arm covering his face. Kazuma raised his mug to the center of the table in a silent toast, and the other two gently tapped their to his in agreement. We have become men, Kazuma said seriously. No longer shall anyone call us virgin. S. And Quat. No one ever called either of us a NEET, Kazuma, Tokoyami chuckled. And we didn't spend hundreds of years as virgins, so we've hardly shed wizard status as you have. And Quat. I thought Megumin was the wizard and you were an adventurer? Midoriya asked, looking a bit confused. I'm going to let that go, just for today, Kazuma sighed, leaning back in his chair. Nothing could go wrong today. Heck, I even feel like I could march right up to the Lord of the Tomb and say in quat, Katsumaya. Aqua wailed, rushing into the room. She was still in her pajamas, and her hair was a frazzled mess. She frantically rushed over to Kazuma, who held up his hand, sipping at his tea. Aqua, I'm in a good mood this morning. So whatever disaster you're going to drop on me, it can at least wait until after breakfast. And quat. Upper management came. I'm in so much trouble. They found out that I was keeping you in the divine realm against regulations, and they said that I'm going to face serious consequences. What do I do? This is all your fault. Aqua wailed, dropping on her knees and soaking Kazuma's arm with literal rivers of tears. Oh, relax. Smitty or whatever wasn't so bad. Why, he paid Megumin and I a visit last night, even said congratulations and stuff. Hell, he even confirmed I'm a god, so things are going to be just fine. Kazuma consoled Aqua, though each word seemed to stab into her instead. You don't understand. He said if we don't defeat the Lord of the Tomb in this world, he's going to. Aqua hiccuped, tears and snot streaming down her face. Make me mortal! And quat. Izuku and Tokoyami exchanged flat looks. Oh, the horror, Tokoyami said dryly. I mean, it could be worse? Izuku managed. Kazuma, on the other hand, started freaking out. What? He can't do that. You're our only prayer against the guy. It's your stupidly op goddess powers that give us a chance to take down that undead bastard! And quat. What's happening now? Uraka groaned, walking into the room and scratching at herself. She yawned. I heard Aqua making a fuss from my room. What happened? And quat. I'm going to get kicked out of the divine realm forever. Aqua wailed. I'll lose all my stuff, and my powers and I'd have to, and quat. What? Kazuma demanded, feeling sick with panic. What? You'll be able to still help, right? And quat. No, I mean, I could just hang out with all of you, Aqua mused. I mean, that's what I really wanted anyway. Sure, we'd die and all, but I know people, they owe me some favors. We could all just get reincarnated and be friends forever. Aqua cheered, seemingly completely over her previous fear. You useless idiot, Kazuma snapped, grabbing Aqua's shoulders and shaking her violently. No one's getting reincarnated if the Lord of the Tomb takes over all the worlds and wipes out all the humans like he's been trying to do! And quat. Tears welled up in Aqua's eyes again. It's not my fault. I've been trying to stop him by giving people all sorts of cheat items. But I didn't want to send you all back because if my friends died again I'd feel terrible, and if he kills me while I'm here like this I'll be gone forever and I'll never get to see any of you again! And quat. That brought Kazuma up short. You mean, you couldn't be reborn, or anything? And quat. No, I'm not just incarnated, I'm fully here. There's nothing back in the divine realm for me. If I die, I'm gone forever, Aqua said mournfully. She sniffed. I mean, it happens to all gods eventually. You lose all your followers, or you just get bored after a few hundred millennia and just go away. I didn't really care before, but ever since I met you, and Megumin, and Darkness, and now Midoriya and Hatsune and I guess even Uraka and Tokoyami, my life's been a lot more fun. So, I guess maybe being immortal won't be too bad. And quat. Blinking, Kazuma looked down at Aqua. You really mean? Aqua, that means a lot, but this isn't the time to be losing your goddess powers. And quat. Actually, I have something to confess, Megumin said, fidgeting with her staff as she walked into the dining room. Kazuma and I sort of attracted the attention of upper management last night, and we maybe almost lost my own goddess status. Apparently, they don't believe in technical virgins. And quat. Oh. And quat. Tokoyami blushed, looking over to Darkness, who tried to hide behind her mug of ale. We, sort of got busted last night too. And quat. See, this is what happens when you all act like a bunch of horny perverts. Much easier just to stay single, Uraka sighed. I guess I'm the only one who didn't get a night visitor because I actually managed to keep it in my pants. And quat. You have a boy thing? May asked, skipping into the room. She hurried over and sat down next to Izuku, looking very pleased with herself. They are a lot of fun, but I do not think I would want one myself. It would feel funny. And quat. Uraka sputtered, going red. I don't look, it's just an expression. So what's the long and short of things? And quat. Basically, we have to go defeat the Lord of the Tomb. Smith said something about Ainz? Is that his name? Kazuma asked. Aqua gave him a weird look. Yeah, don't you remember ? And quat. Remember what? Kazuma asked as Megumin planted herself on his lap, sticking her tongue out at Uraka. It was rather nice, actually, and he put an affectionate hand on her hip. She adjusted it to somewhere more interesting. Man, she was great. We went to school together for like a year or something with Ainz. Seriously? I thought you were smarter than that, Kazuma. Obviously he's the Lord of the Tomb. And quat. Wait, when did you and I ever go to school together? Kazuma demanded. Did you know me back in Japan? Why did you never mention this ? And quat. I mean, it might have been in Japan. Don't you remember? It was a plot by upper management or something to make us grow as individuals or whatever. We were all there, even Yunyun and Iris, and that smug prick Vanir, Aqua explained, not understanding how he wasn't remembering this. What are you talking about? Megumin said, scowling. I went to school with Yunyun, but the rest of you didn't, and I certainly don't remember Vanir being there or the signs. And quat. Are you kidding? We were there forever. We were in class too, and that weird guy Roswell from Subaru and them's world was our teacher, Aqua said. Aqua, I don't remember anything like that, Darkness said slowly. Why don't you tell us about it? And quat. Kazuma said, flabbergasted, as Aqua went through what sounded like an improbable and impossible time where apparently, he and his 3 friends, and Yunyun, had gone to school with a bunch of people from other worlds, including, it seemed, the Lord of the Tomb Mines Ulgaun, and the maids that they'd killed. How do I not remember this? Kazuma said, rubbing his forehead and scowling. I don't know, you guys never talked about it so I didn't either. But I always knew Ainz and his flunkies were bad news. That's why I tried to kill him while we were together, but the stupid rules there prevented me from exacting righteous justice upon him. Aqua declared. Well, that explains why he's looking for Aqua then, Izuku observed. These Pleiades, they were looking for Aqua, trying to kill her. That must be why he invaded your world. And quat. Aqua looked thunderstruck. You mean, it's my fault that Kazuma and Darkness and Megumin, and all my other friends, it's my fault everyone died? And quat. Perhaps that is why Ainz seeks you in particular, but it is clear he's been conquering other worlds at a rapid pace, Tokoyami pointed out. He would have found your world eventually. And quat. Yeah, and he seems bent on killing all the humans he finds. Personally, I think it's good you stood up to him, Aqua, Uraka said. The only problem is, you didn't manage to finish the job. And quat. Well, now we can fix that, and kill this jerk like we did all the other ones. May proclaimed. You did good though. I don't know why we don't remember this, but it could be really useful. And quat. Kazuma said, smiling at Aqua. This time though, I think we'll need your help to beat him. You said he's undead, right? Well, I don't know anyone better at beating the undead than you, Aqua. Plus, this time we've got some help along. And quat. There, that should do it. This is easily the cutest baby I have ever made, May laughed happily, adjusting the last strap on Izuku's yet again upgraded armor. Izuku smiled down at her, rolling his shoulders to make sure the suit fit well when he moved. Not as cute as you are. And quat. That is very nice of you to say, May said and gave Izuku's arm a quick hug. He pulled her up into a longer one though, giving May a tight squeeze. We'll do it, May. Defeat the Lord of the Tomb, and go home. All of us. And quat. Yes, May agreed, sounding subdued. I miss my family. It has been fun sometimes being here, but also scary. I'm glad I got to meet you here, Izuku. And quat. Izuku swallowed. There is, also the slight, issue of us being married. And quat. Why? May asked, frowning. My dad said having sex was for people who were married, and we did that, so he will not be mad. My family will be sad they did not get to come, but they were in a different world so they could not have come anyway. And quat. Well, I mean, we're only 16. And, my mom at least is going to have a fit, Izuku explained, chuckling nervously. Well, you will just have to tell her how amazing I am, and that you were being very responsible, May told him seriously. I will tell my parents the same thing. Besides, you are not sad we got married, are you? And quat. No, not at all, Izuku admitted with no hesitation. He swallowed, but forced a bigger smile. Besides, everything will be fine. We've won every battle so far, so we'll just have to win this one too, right? And quat. Yes. I made special, extra cute babies, just for this. May agreed. Then she sobered again and squeezed Izuku tighter. Just be careful. Megumin says the Lord of the Tomb is very scary, and killed her and Kazuma last time. I do not want them or you to die. And quat. Of course not. I promise. I won't let anyone die, including myself. And quat. Izuku promised, planting a small kiss on her head, as she buried her face in the crook of his neck. With the final fittings now done, they stepped out of their room in the manor they'd been staying at for the past few days, and headed outside to where the others were waiting. Ready? Uraka asked, smiling at Izuku. Yeah, he agreed, matching her smile and giving her a thumbs up. Let's do this. And quat. Oh, relax, we're at least a week's ride away from the enemy base, Kazuma pointed out from where he was slouching against the wall. We must still be ever vigilant, however, Darkness declared, grunting as she adjusted the saddle girth resting on her enormous warhorse. Her dire message was also somewhat ruined by the obvious excitement on her face. There will surely be strong monsters along the way for us to battle, eager to tear us asunder and crush our very souls. Giant, tough, horrifying monsters! And quat. The way is certain to be perilous, Tokoyami agreed, shaking his head as he climbed into the saddle of his own black horse. But our duty is clear. We must go now, while we still have this chance. And quat. Yeah, Izuku nodded, leading his own horse out of its stall and patting his muzzle. I saw Blua and his knights die once already. Even if Aqua can bring them back, it's not something I'd want to see again. And quat. Yes, May agreed. We are strong enough to fight the bad guys, but I do not want to see anyone else die. And quat. I still think we should have let them give us a parade, Aqua whined from her own horse, which was ignoring most of her efforts to direct it. It would have been fun! And quat. No, a true Crimson Demon must go to face their foes in the most dramatic way possible. Sneaking out in the middle of the night is a suitably mysterious method, Megumin declared. Yeah, let's just hope the horses don't all panic when I float them over the wall, Uraka sighed. Let's just get the blinders on them, and in quat. There is no need for that, my friends. And quat. Everyone turned to see Kaiser Frederick and Marquis Blua, along with their attendants, walked out from the darkness. It was a noble attempt, to be sure, Blua chuckled. But you were, perhaps, a bit too obvious that we would not be seeing you again at the banquet earlier. I believe I was even told goodbye as many as 3 separate times! And quat. Hey, look, you can't come with us, Kazuma said, walking over to put himself in the way of the nobles. We get it, you're brave and strong, and honestly, I sort of like you, Fred. But if you come, you'll just get in our way. Sorry not sorry. And quat. Kazuma. Darkness hissed. He is a king. Show proper respect. And quat. Yeah, and I'm a hero and basically a god, so I outrank him anyway, Kazuma pointed out with a shrug. The Kaiser, for his part, chuckled and raised a hand to reassure Darkness. It is fine. I have grown used to your group's unique sensibilities, shall we say. And while it hurts my pride both as a warrior and Kaiser, you are correct on that judgment. Even with our most powerful relics, we would do little to aid you. And quat. It pains me to see you trust us so little that you would think you must sneak away in the night to protect us, Blua added, shaking his head. But then he smiled. I can understand your motivations on the matter. Despite your odd ways, you all have a sense of true nobility about you. And quat. Izuku stepped forward, extending his hand to Blua. Thank you for everything you've done. And quat. Blua hesitated, then took Izuku's hand and shook it firmly. I'm not sure what I have done for you, Lord Wolfsbane, but you have my thanks and gratitude for saving my people. And quat. You supported a bunch of strangers from another world, even when you weren't sure about us. You always helped us, even when, well, we did some odd things by anyone's measurement. Izuku chuckled nervously. Ha! I would put up with much stranger for the benefits you gave us. I would tell you to go with the goddess blessing with you, but, well, it seems she too must leave us now. And quat. Blua bowed deeply to Aqua, who gave him a benevolent smile. For a moment, she actually looked like a holy figure of worship. Then she reached down from her horse to bless Blua, only to let out a squawk and tumble out of her saddle. Izuku caught Blua hiding a smile, and wondered just what he really thought of the crazy goddess. Aqua stood as if nothing happened, smoothing her hair and trying to quietly remount her horse, which still refused to acknowledge her. Izuku carefully did not mention the horse manure smeared on her rear. You have my blessing, Lord Blua. Keep to my tenets, and I shall ever be with you. And quat. The gathered nobles bowed and muttered their thanks, and Aqua grinned triumphantly, then was nearly bucked off again in a rather undignified fashion. Stupid horses. And quat. The guards at the gates know to expect you, the Kaiser told them. Our prayers shall go with you, brave heroes. Save our world. And quat. They then rode off through the dark streets of the city, the few people still out pausing as they went past. Some bowed, others cried out in thanks or praise, some clutched holy symbols and spoke prayers to Aqua, or struck ludicrous poses and shouted out thanks to Megumin. Feels kinda nice to be appreciated for once, Kazuma mused, before sighing. I'll miss it, that's for sure. And quat. Didn't people appreciate you saving your world from the Devil King? Izuku asked, honestly curious. Kazuma blanched. I mean, few did. But we didn't really last long enough after that to actually enjoy any kind of reward. Honestly, we sort of defeated him mostly in secret, and well, our party didn't exactly have the best reputation. And quat. Our closer friends knew, as did Her Royal Highness, Iris. Darkness shared, her white teeth flashing in the darkness as they rode out of the city gates, the guards bowing to them as they left. Besides, we all know you would have soon grown bored if you'd simply sat around your mansion all day, Kazuma. And quat. Bored? Bored? Are you kidding? I would have been thrilled. And neat, finally back in his natural habitat. I tell you what, the first thing I'm doing after we kill this Ainz guy is shacking up with Megumin and a couple of gaming PCs for a century at least, Kazuma declared with an arm pointed to the sky. Megumin grinned. You should join us. We would have enough for a proper raiding party to take down even the fiercest of bosses! And quat. Video games are boring, Mei declared, shaking her head. Yeah. I don't really play a lot of games either. And quat. Izuku admitted. Video games are a waste of time and money, Uraka huffed. Best to find cheaper forms of entertainment, such as reading, or going for walks! And quat. Friggin' cheapskate, Kazuma complained. He suddenly stiffened. Oh shit. Everyone get in! Quat. Behind them, there was a sudden bright flash and Izuku was flung from his horse to the ground as the animal screamed in panic. Only Kazuma and Darkness managed to retain their seats, the entire party turning to watch as the city of Hauptstadt was engulfed in an unholy white light. Contrasting it, a sickly-looking dark fog began to radiate from the city as well, and Izuku finally managed to stagger upright. One of the horses ran neighing loudly back towards the gate, only to suddenly fall, skidding to a stop, seemingly dead the moment a dark tendril touched it. What is that? Tokoyami gasped out, gasping as he took steps back to avoid the encroaching fog and oppas. Look, Mei cried, pointing up at the night sky. The stars! And quat. A blackness deeper than anything Izuku had ever seen seemed to blot out the stars above Hauptstadt, falling onto the city as well, utterly obscuring it for a moment. Izuku stared wide-eyed, his heart thundering in his chest. What? And quat. The darkness suddenly vanished as Aqua raised her hand to the sky. Goddess's light! And quat. A bright shining star arose, bathing the area in light. Izuku blinked as his eyes adjusted, still looking back at the city as a sense of supreme dread filled him. Oh no, Mei whispered. Oh no, oh no, oh no. They can't be, but they are. They're all dead. And quat. She pointed, and even from this distance Izuku could see the guards lying beside their posts, their bodies now in visibly unnatural positions. A strange bleeding sound seemed to fill the air, pounding in their ears like an alien heartbeat, before out of the city gate a horror beyond anything Izuku had ever imagined appeared. It was enormous, so tall that as it moved forward, it shattered the 10-meter-high gate. It was made of utter blackness mixed with dozens of mouths, dark tendrils flailing wildly from random places scoring long lines through the ground and cobblestone. As it got closer, they could also see it moved on 7 giant hooves, giving it an unnatural, rolling gait as it strode forward, long tongues lolling from its mouth. Explosion! Mei shrieked in justified fear, pointing at the horror. The blast that hit the beast staggered it, causing it to sink to its knees for a moment. The opening was not wasted. It was Izuku's chance to strike, dashing forward, carefully slamming his fist into one of the thing's gaping maws. Smash! And quat. The beast managed to bleat once more, before the orifice was completely flattened from the forces it was faced with. With a half-garbled shriek, the mouth, and subsequent length of tentacle it was attached to, then dissolved to inky blackness that parted away like normal mist. What was that? Izuku panted, landing back beside his group thanks to his same impact. His eyes suddenly widened. Tokoyami! Behind! And quat. The other boy reacted instantly, spinning around as dark shadow shrieked in outrage. He was warned just in time. barely deflecting the blow from the man that had hidden in the shadows. Still, the attack staggered Tokoyami and made Dark Shadow real, despite the fact that as it was night, when the quirk was at the height of its power. Humph, the attacker hummed, stepping back and dusting himself off casually. He was oddly dressed in a formal suit, with a silver tie and cravat that matched his hair. So you are as strong as I thought? To take out a dark young so quickly. It is no wonder you defeated my subordinates so easily. Inquat. Izuku, Mei gasped, and he hurried back to her side. Tears were streaming down her face, and Mei had to push up her goggles before they filled with water. The people, they're really all dead. What? Izuku asked, his heart skipping a beat. Mei, you can't mean Inquat. In the city, Mei gasped, grabbing onto Izuku's arms, her eyes wild. My goggles, their bodies, they're cooling already. I can see it. Everyone, everything is dead. Those things, there are more of them, at least 5. Inquat. What did you just do? Aqua roared, a blue aura surrounding her body, her eyes suddenly alight with power. I felt that. My followers. You slaughtered them! Inquat. Indeed, the man agreed. And in the other city, just now, Yuri Alpha has summoned more Dark Young using the scroll our master prepared for us. This should deprive you of the majority of your followers on this world, while also snuffing out the most of the remaining human lives in a single stroke. I regret such actions were necessary, but such is the will of my master. Inquat. I'll kill you. Aqua snarled, raising her fist. Goddess Inquat. Wait, Kazuma said, catching Aqua's fist. This guy, he nearly took out Tokoyami in one hit. You need to stay back, Aqua. He's here to kill us. We'll need your healing. Inquat. Well, it appears you will not be goaded so easily, the man sighed in disappointment. He then shrugged. Well, then I leave you to the Dark Young. Inquat. You're not going anywhere, Izuku roared, leaping forward, his fist raised and body sparking with one for all. The man simply raised a glowing cylinder. Teleport. Inquat. He vanished in a glow as Izuku struck the air where he had been, his blow sending out a gale that tore up trees and threw boulders in its path. Izuku stood, looking around, wild-eyed for vantage points his opponent might have escaped to. He's gone, Kazuma said quietly. Shit. I couldn't even detect him most of the time with my sense foe. He's got some sort of stealth abilities. Inquat. Where'd he go? Izuku demanded. Where? Inquat. Oh my god, Uraka whispered. There's more of those things. They're still destroying the city. Come on. We have to stop them! Inquat. Aqua turned back to the city, raising her hands above her head. Sacred exorcism! Inquat. A blue glow enveloped the entire city, illuminating 5 dark shapes that were rampaging through it. They let out bellows of pain like a hellish chorus, even from this distance, but still vanished to mist. Take that, you bastards! Inquat. Aqua grunted, before slumping to the ground on her hands and knees. Her fingers dug at the dirt. I can't, oh god! Inquat. She vomited onto the ground, the rainbow color of it not helping the atmosphere at all. Izuku looked over to Megumin, who was openly weeping in Kazuma's arms, dry retching herself from the instant loss of their new friends. Slowly, he walked over to the still weeping Mei, who seemed to be see everything and nothing, gently taking her from darkness's near-crushing embrace. He hugged her to himself tightly, tears filling his eyes. Izuku, we failed, Mei wept, clinging to him. Oh god, Izuku. They're all gone. Inquat. Kazuma went back into the city, looking for any possible survivors that might have been missed, leaving the shuddering Megumin with darkness, who cradled both Aqua and Megumin in her arms as the other girls wept uncontrollably. They all knew he wouldn't find anybody. A half hour later, Kazuma returned, just as the sky was beginning to light with the dawn. He was chalk white, the color having fled out of his body. He shook his head, slumping to the ground beside the fire that Uraka had built, looking for anything to distract herself with. There's nothing but bodies, Kazuma said quietly. They're all dead. Even the animals. I didn't see a single living rat or bug. Inquat. Is this what befell Belzerk? Darkness asked, her eyes sunken and haunted. Aqua shivered, wrapped in a blanket as Uraka rubbed her back. No, that spell, it wouldn't have hurt any of us. Well, it would have hurt us, but not killed us. That spell only kills low-level targets, but anything a little stronger would resist it. Most people in Belzerk, they would have resisted it. They had at least 10 or so levels. That spell wasn't meant to kill us though. Those things, they could have. But all of this, That was just meant to wipe out as many humans as possible. And quat. They're going to pay, Izuku growled, his fists clenched so tightly that they hurt. They're all going to pay. I'm going to hunt down every last one of the Lord of the Tomb servants, and bring them to justice! And quat. How convenient then, we had the same thought! And quat. Izuku and the others sprang to their feet, bracing to face the group that had appeared not far from them. The man from before was there, as well as two women, one dressed as a maid, the other as some sort of shrine priestess. Behind them stood an enormous monster of some sort, made of stone with glowing red eyes. Around those four stood a frankly massive army of undead adorned in glowing golden armor, shining silver spears in their skeletal hands. Megumin has already used much of her devotion, the man mused. And they must be warned from fighting the Dark Young. Gargantua, kill them! And quat. With a groan of grinding boulders, the enormous rock monster strode forward, its great legs causing the earth to tremble beneath it. Master Garters, forward! The woman in the Miko dress ordered. Slaughter then in the name of our master! And quat. Megumin slowly stood, the blanket that had been wrapping her body falling away. She raised her staff, her expression one of utter fury. Explosion! And quat. Her blast struck the great golem head-on, causing it to groan and sink to one knee, one arm instantly reduced to rubble. Humph! The butler huffed, waving his arm to clear the dust before him. Impressive. 10th tier magic in an instant, very dangerous. But we know your tricks, or rather, trick. You can use that spell but once. And even that is not enough to fell! And quat. Aqua, Megumin said calmly. Shield us! And quat. Aqua raised a sphere of water about the group, just as Megumin raised her staff above her head. Witness the wrath of a goddess scorned. Divine explosion! And quat. The second blast utterly consumed the giant golem, first melting the rock it was made of, then reducing it to flinders. The following burst of superheated rock pierced through a wide area of the golden armored undead, scoring holes through their previously untouched armor at the farthest, while many of those closest to the blast were reduced to ash outright. When the dust cleared though, the man and two women were unaffected, if a bit dustier from having raised their own barrier. And now Megumin was down, panting and exhausted. That's all I have, she grunted, falling to her rear and barely upright if not for her staff catching her. It's your turn now. And quat. Tokoyami, on me, Darkness shouted, rushing forward with her sword held high. Dark Shadow. Tokoyami roared. Slay them! And quat. Kill. Dark Shadow shrieked, claws expanding where the light refused to touch. Izuku dashed forward with them, attempting to flank them with his fist raised as he gritted his teeth, mind filled with pure fury. Fly, my babies, Mei cried behind them, launching an explosive barrage from her crossbow that shredded into the ranks of the undead that tried to interpose themselves before their masters. The three foes scattered, forcing them to abandon their pincer maneuver, and Izuku found himself facing the butler. Smash! Izuku roared, channeling as much power to his fist as he could handle. To his shock, however, the man redirected his blow with a small grunt. Strong, but untrained. Heel drop kick! And quat. The man's foot crashed into the crown of Izuku's head, driving him into the ground. Izuku felt the familiar sting of bones breaking, and cried out in pain, which was quickly bitten back as he stared hatefully up at his foe. Above him, the butler merely shook his head. And so it ends before it begins. Human killing blow! And quat. Heal! And quat. Golden light enveloped Izuku, and his hand shot up, deflecting the rabbit punch from the butler, leaving it to fire off to the side, creating a completely clear circle through a nearby tree. Behind him, Aqua panted, a vicious smile firmly on her face. Get him now, Uraka! And quat. The man looked up, deflecting a blow from Uraka. He sneered at her, but when he made to attack, he instead floated away, off of the ground. He grimaced, but kicked his legs in a side kick, propelling himself back towards Uraka. Izuku jumped in the way, using his own take on the technique to send the man flying back through the air. Kazuma pointed up, grinning. Wait! And quat. There was another blinding flash, leaving Izuku buffeted by the shockwaves as he fell back to the ground, already searching for who in their group needed help the most, as the butler engulfed in a massive explosion. He turned towards Darkness, who was battering away at the maid. What is this? The maid gasped. You are not supposed to land a single blow. Omega, we should retreat, they are too strong. This is not right! And quat. You are not getting away from me, Darkness snarled, and her sword slashed into the maid's shoulder. Her opponent cried out, then shouted, Kibukushu. The resulting shockwave sent darkness flying back, but Izuku had already been moving in. Hauptstadt smash, he roared, his gauntlet connecting with the maid's chest. With a deafening crash, blow and following explosive blast ripped her clean in half, her torso tumbling away as her legs slid across the field. Izuku finally looked to the Miko, who was using shadowy magic to fight dark shadow and finally showing a hit of emotion besides disdain. It seemed that for all her attacks caused pain, they also backfired by creating the perfect environment to strengthen the quirk manifestation, who had since grown full wings and multiple roaring heads, before it finally grabbed the Miko between two of its talons. Vengeance, Tokoyami shouted, a maddened anger coursing through him as dark shadow ripped the Miko limb from limb with a shriek of triumph. Izuku simply stood there for a moment, barely comprehending the scene, looking down at his own bloodied hands. He forced down the bile in his throat. He wouldn't regret killing this woman. He couldn't. Not after what they'd done. Now, and most likely countless times before to less fortunate worlds. Did we win? Kazuma asked, looking utterly stunned from his own place on the ground. He kicked away the last of the golden undead he and Mei had been fighting. There were dozens of undead bones scattered about their feet, where the two of them had been fighting to protect the helpless Meghuman. Uraka shook her head, her eyes haunted. This doesn't feel like winning. And quat. This is impossible. And quat. Everyone turned to gape as the butler staggered to his feet, clutching at his bloodied head. What magic is this? It is not. Neither the gods, nor any other world has magics such as these. And quat. Izuku surged over, aiming a fist for the man's face. To his shock, he caught the blow, grinning despite the fact that one of his eye sockets was now in an empty ruin. As I said, strong, but unskilled. And quat. He suddenly countered, his fist driving into Izuku's gut, and he stumbled back. I shall report this to my master. You think you have won? You have only faced the first of the legions of the Great Tomb. We shall. And quat. Darkness sword emerged from the butler's chest, cutting him off. He coughed wetly, looking down in dull surprise at the blade. You can speak to your master in hell, Darkness roared, yanking her sword free, and with a single stroke, lopping the butler's head from his shoulders. The corpse fell wetly to the ground, a pool of blood forming about it. Father, you are avenged, Darkness panted. Then she burst into tears, falling to her knees as Tokoyami came over to her. Even Dark Shadow seemed to have had its fill of violence, wrapping both its master and mistress in a dark embrace. What do I do? Aqua whispered, looking helplessly at the city. I can't even begin to resurrect that many people. I'm almost out of prayers and offerings, and with so many dead. She broke down, tears falling as she sank to her knees. Izuku went over to Mei, all but falling to his own knees as he began hugging her tightly as they grieved at the horrifying loss. So, now what? Kazuma somberly asked, looking to Aqua. Do we get sent back, or, there can't be more, can there? And quat. I don't know, Aqua admitted. I don't know what to do. And quat. Well, then it's a good thing I was paying attention. Good grief. This is a mess. And quat. A salaryman appeared amidst the carnage, shaking his head as he looked around. You. Kazuma snarled. Smith, you son of a bitch. You're supposed to be a big shot god. Why didn't you help? And quat. Smith frowned slightly. I was occupied. And quat. Aqua let out a snarl and stalked forward. She looked up at Smith, her face reflected in his sunglasses, showing her wrinkled dress and red puffy eyes. Then she punched him, right in the jaw. Screw you. You're supposed to be upper management. We're gods. We're supposed to stop stuff like this from happening. Where were you? Why did this have to happen? Smith rubbed his jaw, shaking his head. Well, when you put it like that, I suppose I'll have to call in backup for this. And quat. He took a step back as Aqua raised her fist, taking out an old-style flip phone. Just a moment. I'll deal with this. And quat. Everyone watched as he held down a key on the phone, then held it to his ear. Nagano? Yeah, it's me. Listen, I need a favor. Whole server rollback. And quat. He suddenly pointed at Izuku. You, about how long have you been here? And quat. Izuku blinked. Just over 2 months? And quat. 3 months, to be safe. Yes, I know the trouble it will cause. Look, I'll deal with the chief. Alright, thanks. Love you too. See you for dinner tonight. I'll bring home something for us to celebrate with. Smith out. And quat. He flipped his phone shut. Right, rollback will happen in 5 So let's get you all out of here. And quat. What do you mean roll back? Aqua demanded. How is that going to help? What even is that exclamation mark and quat? We'll just reset the world to before this all happens, Smith casually explained. Then, he raised a hand and snapped his fingers. Izuku found himself standing in the blue circle once more, alone. He spun around frantically. Mei? Where are you? Uraka, Tokoyami, Kazuma, where and quat? Calm down, kid, Smith said, appearing from nowhere. I separated you all to make this easier. Right. Congratulations. You saved the whole world. Probably more. Good job. And quat. What did you do to my friends? Izuku snarled, falling into a fighting stance. Smith sighed. They're fine. Have a seat. And quat. No, not until I see Mei and the others. Izuku demanded. I'm not afraid of you, you bring them back or and quat. Yeah, we're not doing this now, Smith sighed. Right, you're getting rolled back too. Thanks, kid. You did good. And quat. Izuku charged forward with a roar, but fell screaming into nothingness. The next thing he knew, he was tangled in something, his vision gone. He roared in anger, thrashing about, slamming into objects. He raised a fist, ready to smash anything and everything that got in his way. Izuku, calm down. What's the matter? And quat. He froze, his fist still raised. Oh my god, Izuku, what happened? Was it a bad dream? It's okay, don't worry, I'm here, his mother said. The light came on, and Izuku blinked. He reached up, pulling his blanket away from his face. He was on the floor of his old room. Above him stood his mother, wringing her hands. Mom? Izuku gasped. What? And quat. Izuku, it's okay. You're still going to UA. His mother said, gently putting her arms around him. It's okay. It's real. Whatever that was, it was just a dream. And quat. Just a dream? Izuku whispered. No. And quat. Relax, sweetie, his mother laughed. You start your first day of high school. She glanced at Izuku's clock, frowning. Well, I suppose you were going to get up in an hour anyway. Come on, I'll make breakfast. And quat. Breakfast? Izuku asked stupidly. Of course, Inko said, bustling to the kitchen. A nice big breakfast, for my growing boy. High school already. And your dream, the hero program at UA. And quat. No, Izuku whispered. Oh goddess, no. It can't have been just a dream. And quat. That was when the pounding on the door started. Gods, goddesses, and angels of all stripes hurried out of Aqua's way as she stormed through the corridors of headquarters, a snarl of pure rage on her face, hands balled into fists at her sides. One particularly brave, or stupid, archangel swallowed and attempted to bar her way. This is the chief's office, if you'll just have a seat. And quat. Goddess Requiem, Aqua roared and decked the archangel quite literally into next week, by way of hitting him into one of the halls of time, where he emerged the next Wednesday with a very sore jaw. Striding up to the huge double doors that barred the way into the realm of the chief goddess, Aqua took a deep breath. Then, she set her jaw, rolled up her non-existent sleeves, and shoved the doors wide open with a deafening bang. Aqua? And quat. She spun, ready to harangue whoever was trying to stop her, but Aqua found herself looking at the tear-stained face of her subordinate, Iris, goddess of fortune. Why are you here? Aqua demanded bluntly. Iris shied away at first, but then squared her shoulders and puffed out her chest, planting herself before Aqua. They didn't call you here to berate me too, did they? Look, I'm not sorry. We saved Belzerg. I don't care how many rules I broke, or what they say, it was the right thing to do! And quat. Aqua tilted her head to one side. You were fighting the Lord of the Tomb, weren't you? Kazuma said something about it. With Yunyun, and those kids from that world with quirks. And quat. Yes. But listen, Aqua, I know it sounds crazy, but we drove the forces of Nazarick off of Belzerg. It's free now. I had to help. I know we were forbidden from going to the worlds conquered by the enemy, but I didn't have any choice. My followers, they needed me! And quat. Quickly, Aqua nodded. So, upper management called you here to chew you out too? And quat. Yes. But, Aqua, I'm not backing down. Even if I do get in trouble for what I did. And quat. Good. Come on. I'm going to go give the chief a piece of my mind, Aqua snarled as she grabbed Iris by the wrist, snapping her from her defensive stance instantly. You what? Iris squeaked. Those kids did not deserve what was done to them. We should be rewarding them, not wiping their memories and shoving them back to their world, Aqua snapped as she strode down the hall. Oh, yes, I agree with you, Iris said eagerly, hurrying to keep up. Without their help, I never could have managed to free Belzerg at last! And quat. So, you're with me? Aqua said grimly as they came to the final door, emblazoned with the symbol of the chief goddess, SOS. Yes, Iris agreed, taking a deep breath. Too many of our followers have suffered for too long. And quat. Aqua nodded. Damn straight! And quat. She kicked the door open, striding into the room, where a large desk sat. On it was a placard that read, Chief Goddess, Comedy Division. Behind it was the chief goddess herself, talking on the phone as she twirled a pen in her hand, seemingly more interested in it than whoever she was talking to. All right, you listen here. Aqua shouted. What you did to Kazuma and Midoriya and the others is in quat. The chief then held up the hand, still twirling the pen, and Aqua found every muscle in her body had frozen. She tried to move, tried to speak, tried to even blink, but found she couldn't. Right, thanks for understanding, King Kai. Yes, I know it's unusual, but I'm really in a bind here. I appreciate the help from the Shonen office. Hopefully this is the end of Momonga and his rampage. If Alucard won't reign in his dominion, we'll just have to do it for him. No, I don't think we'll need anyone else. Yes, the BNHA cast should be enough. I owe you one. Haha. Yes, I know you can do comedy too. Thanks again. Aha. Say hi to Bubbles and Gregory for me. Bye now. And quat. The chief hung up the phone. Then she took a deep breath, pointing her pen at the two frozen goddesses, one through fear and the other by design. Right. I suppose you two think this was somehow a good idea, don't you? She absently crooked a finger at Aqua and Iris, causing Aqua to cry out and topple to the floor. Aqua sprang to her feet, her face flushed in embarrassment and rage. How dare you? After all we went through, you're reincarnating my friends, and wiping the minds of Midoriya, Hatsune, Uraka, and Tokoyami? That's unfair. Darkness and Tokoyami were in love. You can't just separate them. They get a wish for saving a world. Those are our rules! And quat. That's right, Iris agreed, coming to stand beside Aqua, her normally calm and polite demeanor gone in favor of her impudent and rude side. You did the same thing to my group. Those kids fought and bled and even died for us, and you just sent them back without even a thank you. How dare you! And quat. The chief gave Aqua and Iris a flat look. Because I'm the chief goddess, and I created you, Aqua. As for you, Iris, you're just a jumped-up mortal, and don't forget it. And quat. That doesn't change what you've done. Aqua snapped. No, it doesn't. But those kids screwed up the entire multiverse. I just about had Ainz and Nazarick contained, when that explosion ripped a hole in all my efforts. Now I've got dozens of worlds catching fire, the chief explained. So, those mortals should really just be grateful I didn't send them all to hell, or worse. And quat. This is no way to treat heroes who have saved realms. Iris cried. You can't just! And quat. And as for you two, the chief said, pulling out a sheet of paper from thin air. Aqua, you hid 4 mortals in your apartments for centuries, you could play video games with them. Even for you, that's colossally stupid. And we both know that's a high bar to clear. And quat. But Aqua tried to protest, but the chief made a zipping motion with her fingers, and Aqua found her lips sealed shut. And you, Iris? You manifested yourself directly to help adventurers you sent to a world that was strictly behind the quarantine zone, putting untold worlds at risk, the chief stated. Not to mention risking the death of another goddess. And quat. The quarantine was already broken. Iris argued. It was a chance to finally save what few living humans remained in that world. I had every right to. And quat. The chief made another zipping motion and glared at the two now red-faced goddesses. I've had enough of this pointless conversation. Aqua, you're a lazy screw-up who has caused me headache after headache. The only reason you haven't been demoted to an angel in some random corner of heaven is because you have managed to fix most of your own problems, and I'm not completely ungrateful that you've helped save several worlds. So, I'm not going to simply erase you. I'm going to do something a step above that. You'll be reincarnated as a mortal. And quat. Aqua tried to scream, but couldn't. She frantically tried to move, but found herself bound in air once more. Iris, you're just a junior goddess, a mortal who got lucky. With your senior suspended, and I strongly suspect you helped her, especially with those illegal resurrections I've dug up, you're stripped of your divinity outright. You too shall be incarnated as a mortal. And quat. Aqua found herself sobbing, the tears leaking out from her still-locked face. Not because she was going to be immortal now, but because this meant she'd never see Kazuma, darkness, or Megumin again. This wasn't fair. She'd done her job. Even if she had broken a few rules, it had still worked. You'll keep a vestige of your powers, but since most of your followers are dead anyway, I wouldn't expect much, the chief said. I could make it worse. Be grateful I'm showing you this much mercy with how much damage you could have done. And quat. She snapped her fingers, and a side door opened in the air. Asahina, director of time, dressed in her traditional bunny girl outfit, stepped out. Yes, Chief Suzumiya ? And quat. Get rid of these two, the chief ordered. I still have work to do. And quat. Of course, Asahina agreed. The same as the others ? And quat. Yes, the chief barked, waving her hand in irritation. Just as Asahina was carting the still-bound Aqua and Iris away, the chief raised a finger. One moment. If the two of you, somehow, manage not to screw up this life I've given you and actually fulfill your duty as goddesses, you can be reinstated. But one more screw-up, and I'll reincarnate you both as cockroaches. Now get them out of here! And quat. Aqua whimpered as Asahina dragged her and Iris through the halls. Don't worry, Asahina whispered, giving Aqua a smile and a wink. Haruhi's not as mad as she's acting. Good luck. We're rooting for both of you! And quat. Then she tapped Aqua on the forehead, and time escaped from her. Back in the office. The chief waited until the door to her office was fully closed, separating it back into its own separate universe, before she allowed herself to act normally, throwing the pen away and messing both hands through her hair. Ugh, damn it, damn it. Stupid politics. Stupid balances of karma and hidden plots and betrayal of superiors. Gah, I hate these routes. Where's the romantic hijinks alongside poorly translated comedy? Why is it nothing but drama and fight scenes? I hate working with shonen. They ruin a good thing. Haruhi groaned, scrubbing her face with her hands as if to wipe away all signs of seriousness. Asahina, get me Ristardi and Saya. We've got some work to do. And get Nagato on the horn. I don't know how much time we have to work with, even with that rollback! And quat. As was often the case with divinity, things never were quite what you expect. Within the great tomb, 1,000 banners from a myriad worlds hung from the enormous gilded marble columns of the great hall. Some represented fallen kingdoms that had bent the knee to resurrect, submitting to the overwhelming might of the Lord of the Tomb, forswearing all gods in his name. Others were of gods or goddesses that had been slaughtered, their followers wiped out to the last. In the case of those who had bent the knee, often they too had been killed, if a bit more slowly. Of course, for those who served the great tomb, death was frequently less than permanent. Undead servitors lined the walls of the tomb, immobile and unfailing in their purpose of guarding their lord, who sat above them on his high seat. Upon the orichalcum throne sat a figure robed in black, a staff humming with great power in his hands. No flesh was there upon the lord of the tomb, long discarded and leaving his body to remain solely of bone, bound together and animated by his own supreme power. Eins Ulgaun. The lord of the tomb had many names over the years of his conquest, but that was his most famous epitaph. Once, he had been but a mortal man, who felt the press of time and the weight of morality upon his heart and mind. No longer. He had been as he was now, an overlord, the greatest of the undead sorcerer kings, for time beyond mortal reckoning. At first, he had clung to his human morality and respect for life, but the evils he had committed to secure his place as uncontested ruler of his world had worn that sentimentality away like a stone in a river until it was not but a rapidly fading memory. Before the ruler knelt a man in a pinstripe suit with silver spectacles that hid his eyes. His most notable physical feature was his long, silver tail, with long spikes at the end, but that was not his greatest weapon, nor were his fangs and claws. No, for Demiurge, his greatest tool was his mind, which was screaming in panic as he genuflected before his master. Report, Demiurge, the lord of the tomb commanded. And what his lord commanded, Demiurge obeyed. He resisted the urge to lick his lips. My lord, the Pleiades are all slain. Sabas led them to their deaths. It seems he betrayed us for the sake of Touch Me at last. And he took Gargantua down with him. I barely fled Belzerg with my life, and my assets are destroyed. Victim's world is unresponsive, and likely gone to us. Cocytus and the lizard men's world seems to have vanished entirely. We must presume them lost. Shaltir is alive again, but will take some time to recover from her resurrection. Albedo as well. The Fiore twins also fled their world, and yet live. And the Godslayer has been driven from the field. And quad. So, We have been driven back on all fronts. For the first time in centuries, the banners of the Great Tomb are in retreat, his lord mused. Forgive me, my lord. I reached too far, Demiurge said, pressing his forehead to the cool stone of the floor in submission. When these new worlds opened to us, I saw opportunity. Instead, it was a trap. And quat. Perhaps. Rise, Demiurge. I still require your services on the battlefield. You will never resolve this issue while you kneel in supplication. You have earned a respite, for this time, thanks to your previous successes. And quat. Feeling an overwhelming sense of relief, Demiurge rose to his feet. Thank you, my lord. And quat. Still, this is troubling, the lord of the tomb said, rubbing his chin. What of the reports of her ? And quat. Demiurge did not need to ask of whom his master spoke. The last report from the Pleiades world was that Aqua was likely there. That was why we sent forth Gargantua. And quat. That so-called goddess, Ainz hissed. For centuries she has eluded me, refusing to even move beyond the divine realm. And now. And quat. There were sudden footsteps, the precise click of boot heels upon stone. Demiurge felt the same sense of dread he felt whenever his back was to the Godslayer as she walked down the hall. If there was one being in all the multiverse he feared, it was his master, who was cunning beyond all other supreme beings, and more powerful than most gods. But if there was one creature he had nightmares of, it was the Godslayer. Lord Ainz, I have vored. Something new has happened. And quat. The Godslayer came to a halt just to the side of Demiurge, her boot heels clicking together in perfect military efficiency as she stood at attention, hands behind her back. Her uniform looked newly pressed, not a single wrinkle upon it. Field Marshal, we were just discussing you. Demiurge tells me you were forced into retreat. And quat. This is true. The goddess Ristardi and her champion took the field against me. I would have beaten them again, but they brought something new to the fight. 4 youths, from a world they have never seen before, the Godslayer replied. Her diction was perfect, just a faint trace of an accent, which Demiurge knew for a fact she personally affected. She could speak with completely unaccented Japanese or any other language, when she wished. More of those youths from another world, then. Describe them to me, the Lord of the Tomb ordered. They possess strange powers, the Godslayer stated. Not magic, something else. They called them quirks and appas. At first I thought it to be these cheat items that the goddesses give their lambs they send for us to slaughter. But it basts not that. I think that event tore open another barrier. They are from an entirely new set of worlds. Just as they veer. And quat. Upon my world, I found out their names, Demiurge added, happy to enlighten his lord, even if he wasn't asked. Ashido, Bakugo, Kirishima, Sero. They worked with the goddess and champions we long thought dead. And quat. Yes. There were 42 of them in all, Ainz nodded. This my spies have uncovered. They appeared not long after the event. But I have revealed something else. And quat. Oh? Demiurge asked, suddenly curious. The Godslayer waited impassively, still at attention, waiting upon the words of her master. Their world of origination, Ainz said, holding up a hand. Within it a blue and green sphere appeared, the image of a world. It is not like these other worlds we have conquered. In my time as a mortal man, I would have called it a comic book world, or perhaps a shonen manga. It matters not. All these youths share one thing in common. They come from UA, the school of heroes. And quat. A school for heroes? Demiurge asked, startled, but the Godslayer was nodding. So that's sphere they are from, the Godslayer said, nodding. Shonen. I should have known. Vel, what are your orders? And quat. In their world, there are heroes. But where there are heroes, there are also villains. I am sending you both to this world to find those villains. I have sensed the movement of the damnable goddesses. They seek to plunder the strength of this world and turn its heroes against us. But I shall make them rue that day. Find the evil that lurks within that world and make it serve us. We shall reduce it to ash, as we have with so many others. At long last, we shall slay the last of the gods, and only Nazarick will reign supreme in all the multiverse. And quat. Yes, my lord, Demiurge said with a bow. Beside him, the Godslayer grinned. It turned her cute, almost innocent features into that of a demon, her blue eyes sparkling as she flicked aside a length of blonde hair. Then this world too shall learn to fear the name of Tanya von de Guri Chaff. And quat. Demiurge shivered. Evil should look as he did, or as Lord Ainz. Not like a cute 20-year-old blonde human woman. But those blue eyes were colder than ice. And those delicate hands had slain gods. What was one or two more? Thanks for making it to the end. You are so great. Leave your comments and suggestions in the comments below, and let me know if you want some of those more exotic scenes fleshed out in the future, or if this is a proper balance. And until next time, have a great day.